Hello and welcome to the Contenders Trial to Europe, Middle East and Africa. We are back with another series and day one is looking promising. In the first game, Obey Alliance are up against Sheer Cold, and while Obey Alliance have made some radical changes to their roster in the last few days, Sheer Cold have been stable in their lineup. More on that in a second. First of all, my name is the Monster, your office temp for today. And with me is the HR Hobbit of hit rate, the accountant against account bans, the corporate co-caster, and my favorite win-turn man of class.
Yes, it is indeed I. No, it's great. Honestly, you said it before. You know, these teams have come in here. Obey Alliance changing up their roster quite drastically. We only saw them a few days ago, last week, going up against Angry Titans in their loss in Contenders that got them here. But now they're here with 3 new players we haven't seen play with them before in a new meta. It's all up for grabs, and the biggest one we're looking out for in Obey Alliance is, yes, they got a new support line. They've got Khan and Admiral Raptor now coming in from Young and Beautiful and Fox Nihili, respectively. But the big one is Chow. Chow the Beast. Chow the Madman. And that is very exciting for a number of reasons. And the most exciting reason is that Chow has played a very good Sombra in the past. Very good.
Oh, yeah.
But, of course, you need to have a little bit more flexibility sometimes. So there is a question mark of can Chow do that? And, of course, as an off-tank player with a Zarya, with the Diva, with the Hog, the mechanics should be there. But it's still a question mark. And the experience is really what should pull that over the line.
I mean, let's be honest here. If you count the Zarya as a DPS player, Chow is just perfectly fine. And in this meta, it's not a very far-fetched thing, is it?
No, it's not.
On the other side, we see that Sheer Cold is still there. They're stable in their lineup.
Middle of the pack, bottom of the pack in Contenders for this entire year almost. And they need a bit of a boost from something, whether that's a roster shakeup, whether that's a meta shakeup, which we actually have right now, or any sort of other type of thing. There needs to be something happening there in order to boost them up a little bit. And like we said, maybe it's that meta, because it's been changing rapidly. And both of these teams haven't had that much time to start practicing on the current live patch, because they both were in Contenders last week, which still played on that previous patch. So now that they're both going in, with this new patch where main techs are essentially pointless, what will that mean? What will that mean for both of these teams? You know, Shade, Alex, Helv, Kenny, they've been playing these double barrier heroes for so long, and we're very much accepting and trusting that these players can still do a lot in this current meta. But the DPS, the tanks, even the supports, so much is changing in the dynamic of how that's played that this current matchup might not show that, but if we get later into the week where Contenders teams or ex-Contenders teams play against OD or teams that stayed in Trials, that might actually come into a difference. So for this matchup, going to be starting on Nepal, going to be on Nepal Shrine, to be more particular. And yeah, it's going to be very telling when we see them kind of the gates how well they're going to be functioning on this current patch.
Well, we will see whether or not the meta will have a big impact on our expectations, of course. That being said, of course, in the green slot, we do see the ladies and gentlemen of Sheer Cold on the right side. In a white is Obey Alliance. So for Control, no big surprises, I would say, in terms of the setup. Maybe we will see some Pharah, though.
It's all possible. We know that Grathan is a great Pharah, but I mean, there might actually be some surprises here when it comes to the tank line. We'll see when they actually come out of the gates. They have a few seconds, but it does look like they want to stick with this. So it will be Lethal and Grathen facing off on that Pharah versus Ashe combo. Then Chow and Backbone both going over to the Tracer. Of course, Chow has played plenty of Tracer in the past. We know they can actually do that, but the big surprise is that tank line difference. Helv and Kenny on the Winston Diva versus Shade and Alex on the Roadhog Wrecking Ball.
Yeah, that's right. You do see Shade already going up there on towards that little bit of a balcony, so I guess he's going fishing for now. Alex onto Chow for a little bit of a side set. I'm curious to see whether or not the DPS picks on the side of Sheer Cold will actually stand up against this very jumpy combination that we do see coming out of the Bay Alliance here.
So far, not many blows traded, but there's Help going down first already.
Yep, and missing one tank, missing a one healer. That is both on the Conto of Grathen. Both of them are just ready, set, and able. And that should mean that Sheer Cold right now is set up for the flip, at least. Very close to it.
Yeah, and of course you give away that first control, but you don't really mind that if you take it back this quickly. And Grathen did such a good job of just denying Lethal the sideline. This shrine is very annoying in terms of that you can just fly around it as Pharah, completely being on the opposite side of it from where the Ashe would be. Now Lethal does go over to the Sombra, wants to deny more of what that Wrecking Ball and Roadhog want to do, and that Tracer potentially. So pulse bombs galore, but it's really in the old bank right now for Sheer Colds.
We will see what's going to happen. Alex is hacked out, and right now there's a nano boost coming out. Shade with a bit of a shot onto Elf, and it does look like he's taken a bit of a breaksea right there. Very good response on the side of Khan there, but there's the barrage coming out. Khan and that Raptor, both of them going down, and Grathen not done yet. It is Shade who secures both of these kills, but the way that they set that fight up was beautiful.
Yeah, really the difference right now is that tank line. Shade and Alex are just in no trouble. Shade was even slept for half that fight. Still, no problem. Just gets up, still does the hook, still does the damage. And Health and Kenny are just not getting in there. Health is still on 50% towards that Primal Rage. That's not enough after 2 fights. Yeah, dies quite early. Of course, when you are fighting a Roadhog with the quality of Shade, you know that any Roadhog will die. Any monkey will die to a Roadhog in basically 3 attacks, and I think Shade is just keeping him under control. Lethal on the side, able to get Shade off the board, though, so maybe there's a bit of an opening this time for Obey Alliance. And we do see Chow in the backline, going in the fight against Backbone, and both of them basically just sniffing each other, but there we go. Chow with a bit of help here from Khan, gets the upper hand on it, and Sheer Cold are looking like they are giving up that point. No, Shade back on there, trying to make some space and trying to make something happen. Obey Alliance have the point right now, and now it's up to Sheer Cold to push back into it. They're finally able to put proper pressure on Shade. Using those hacks from Lethal is really important. They need to be able to capitalize on those right clicks, being able to jump in at the same time, and then Chow and Health just help each other take them down. Chow is mostly worried about Backbone at the moment, though. They're just making sure that Backbone is not able to get on top of that backline. That Ana of Khan needs to stay safe, and so far, it's been a good job of Seni and Chow to make that happen. Okay. Seni? Are we sticking with Seni now? Just Kenny. It's Kenny. I'm sorry. It's Kenny. Yeah. So, you know, we have to do it. I'm still used to Seni. It's been ages. Yeah, I know. I've been calling him Seni for all the time, but if he says he wants to be named as Kenny, then who are we to not obey that? See what we did there. Okay, EMP is ready. Lethal going in from the sideline, looking for something. There we go. Gets the pharmacy out of the sky. Refit in trouble, already going down, and he is looking for more. Actually going to go to fight Grathen. Both of them very low and need to pull back. Lethal a little bit further. Shade trying to go with the whole hog to clear that point out, and it is still ticking for Obey. Oh, now look at Health. Finally has that Primal Rage. Immediately jumps for the backline. Tries to get that Ana out, but decides at the end of the day to jump on the roof. Okay. Couldn't get away from there, but Obey buys themselves a lot of time. Nicely done. So far, we are going to be able to well, actually have the percentage still tick up for Obey Alliance. They're still in control here. They might lose the points. They will have one more turn to actually go in and get some work done if they lose it here. But that's Grathen with the barrage.
Yeah, the barrage comes out there, but immediately gets stopped. That was very nicely done by Seni. First of all, you fill the full amp matrix in there, and then you just plant the robot in front of Grathan, and Grathan's barrage does not really do an awful lot. It's a classic, but it still works like a charm. Now, Sheer Cult moving it in. Admiral Raptor trying to extend together with Zhao, trying to make sure that the cap doesn't come through at the end of the day. They had to pull back. It's 90 to 99%, and these teams are looking like they're going for a heated fight. I'm looking forward to this series, Classic.
Going all the way. Oh, it's self-destruct time. Boom! Doesn't get anything, but it zones them away, and that hack comes in on the Shade as a result.
Oh, Tao had some time on the other side to get Lusa out, so that was nice enough as a distraction. There it is, EMP flying out yet again. Lethal was able to make something happen, gets onto Shade, but it is Health who bites the bullet yet again as Alex pushes in right now. Sheer Cold in control of this. Lethal trying to make something happen, trying to hack Shade out, make him a little bit less dangerous, but it is Seni who goes down there as well. The objective is secured and Sheer Cold take it. But wow, what a first round right now.
A lot of things happening there, and especially that Pharah play from Grathan just caught Obey Alliance completely off guard. There's still a question as to how valuable this D.Va-Winston combination is. The D.Va is actually doing a very good job of denying a lot of what Shade wants to do. Shade, with their hooks, with their follow-up especially, if it constantly is a defense matrix in your face, then what are you going to do? And the same thing sort of goes with pulse bombs, a lot of the rockets, the barrages. Actually, Kenny's pick on that D.Va working out very well. The peel was very good, but it was just that if you have that D.Va constantly standing there in the back line, not doing a whole lot of damage herself, is Health in the front line together with Lethal and potentially Chow really able to do enough to deter a full frontal assault from Sheer Cold?
Honestly, I would say no, especially with Grathan just basically making up the entire backline. The rest of the crew more or less is comfortable to get into a little bit of that mid-fight over there on the point. And if the Widowmaker can at least either be, you know, a deterrent to jump in onto that mid-fight or be the sole focus of your jumpy composition, both of them risky strats for a pure dive comp. So Obey Alliance have their work cut out for them, I'd say.
They do, but Kenny is now on that Wrecking Ball. Health still on the Winston. They do get refed early. That's a good pick on that Mercy. That means that Sheer Cold actually wants to back up already, but especially losing that Loser too.
Oh, wow. Grathan finds Zhao on the sideline immediately, so it's equalized out. Nice shot by Lethal. Gets Grathan with a nice little bit of that Coach Con jump. That was beautifully played, and the flip is real, 15%. So roughly the same percentage that they had in the first round before the flip came.
Yeah, exactly. But this time around, it's actually Obey Alliance taking that first full control. They get the first fight win, which was very different than last time. If they can pull this through, this might just be a 1-1 scoreline, and they got some ultimates to work with, but both teams do. It's actually been a very quick charge from both of them.
Backbone already very low. There's the Nano. Health jumping in there into the full team. Was, of course, preceded by Seni, already moved in there for a little bit. Lethal has that Bob. We'll see whether or not they're actually just going to hold it or fire it in. Nope, it's going on the point, making sure that the real estate stays in their colors.
That is control play from both teams actually is really good to see. Oh, don't say yourself there, Alex. You almost did, but not quite. And, ooh, they get some kills on the other side of the point, though, Ollie. It's just a very back-and-forth fight so far.
That's right. Admiral Raptor gets health back up, even though Backbone was there to immediately knock it off. But with all the good kills that Sheer Cold had so far, we're looking right now at Obey Alliance still holding on to that point. Grathan has swapped to the Ash, trying to make some shots happen right now, but the swap on the tank line is just beautiful. Whenever a tank falls, the other one just immediately gets reciprocated.
That's really just the front lines finally fighting evenly, finally both fighting in the front line instead of having a lot of peel going on, because there's no D.Va, of course. Oh. And it's really starting to make a difference for Obey Alliance. But yes, I mean, Lethal goes down, but in 2 seconds you see a pick on the other side. That keeps happening. They never have actually had a full fight so far.
And Lethal is back yet again. Alex and Backbone jumped in there earlier, like you said, and now Tao onto Backbone. Tao trying to get the double up there, is unable to, but Health on the front line does some work. Grathan and Lusa both going down. So Obey Alliance are getting the cap back. It's now 80% versus 31 after it just shortly belonged to Sheer Cold for a second. Sao tries it, actually almost gets booped off, but is there with that recall and now needs to make a couple of adjustments to his approach.
It's looking really good so far from Obey Alliance. Of course, they do have that 95, this last fight territory. If they win this, they've got that map. They got the map tie up on the Nepal here. But with that nano on the backbone, they do have to be a bit careful.
They do have to be a tad careful because a Nano Tracer does a lot of damage, and Grafton and Lusa are there while the rest of the team is distracted to make something happen. Senny going down as well, so this is the flip. The flip has happened in the last possible second right there, and now it's up to Sheer Cold to run the defense. Are they equipped to do it, though?
Yeah, how long are you going to be able to hold on with just a whole hog and a pulse bomb? Yes, Grafton is probably going to charge that Bob relatively quickly, but there's just more to work with pretty soon for the side of Obey Alliance, and they don't even have to win this fight. They can go for 2, maybe even 3 fights.
Helv and Senny both going very low in that front line. We do see Shade holding back a little bit, waiting either for that little bit of a hook or the right opportunity to move in. Helv, once again, very low. Lethal already going down. Beautifully done by Alex on the sideline. And now we see a fight as Shade fires the whole hog in, tries to get that that altered Helv off of the rest of the team. Sheer Cold trying to extend it. 1 versus 2 on the point. It is looking quite good for Obey Alliance. Nice ult bomber to Alex, who was trying to extend for a long time there. But look at that. Sheer Cold coming back. The overtime wick running out. There is the flip. 75%. That was a hectic fight, but beautifully executed. Sheer Cold, wait and get back in there.
It's all about that patience, and that's something we see so much in the European teams, where they don't just go in head first. They don't go for that immediate clash. There's so much patience, so much calculated risk taking, so much calculated just back and forth and the pull and push. It's amazing.
That's right. There's a minefield. Lethal is pushed into a corner, stuck over there, and that is the end for him. While Backbone goes over and finds Senny just as well. Backbone with a quadra kill right now, though. It is Grafton who finds the number 5, and Sheer Cold just asserting their dominance on the back of Backbone.
Right now, that difference in the tank line is just so visible. That Winston is just not getting enough work done. Sometimes they're getting back with the Primal Rage, but unless they have that ultimate, they just get blown up, and so far, Sheer Cold is happy to capitalize, happy to take all that damage into their ult bank and just throw it right back into Obey Alliance. That's the first map win for Sheer Cold, and the first map of potentially only 3. You know, if they win 2 more, they're already done.
Yep, that's right. We are doing first to 3 over here in Contenders Trials, obviously, and this is the first step to success for Sheer Cold. However, do not count out Obey just yet, because they have been playing a fantastic game.
Yeah, of course, and Obey Alliance, you know, there's a reason why they keep being in Contenders. It's not quite the same roster anymore, but they still have that same foundation. Most of their members still stayed. It's only 3 new ones that came in, so you still have half the team left, which, you know, may not be the better half, depending on who you ask. That's not a judgment on my part. That's just reality. and then you do get that experience of Chow, especially, and that just has played so much in the past. You know, there's a reason why he's still so active and still so good, because he's just a great player. And Admiral Raptor and Khan have proven themselves in the past few weeks on teams like Young and Beautiful, on Vox Neely. They've been around in the scene for longer anyway. So it's not like Obey Alliance is all of a sudden a weak team. No, they're definitely not. And Sheer Cold is equally really good. But what we've seen so far on Control really sees that both of these teams have a different way of how they want to execute this meta. Not necessarily DPS and support department, like to a degree maybe with that Lucio sometimes, but it's also a bit map dependent. But it's really about that tank line right now. That's the one we're really looking at, where we're saying health on the Winston.
Yes.
It almost doesn't matter what that other tank is, because I think Kenny's doing a great job on the Wrecking Ball, did a great job on the Diva, but if you keep having that Winston, the amount of support that goes into that, the amount of damage that comes out of it, that doesn't really weigh up to what you kind of need to get against that other team. Because your CC capacity and that bubble is usually not enough to weigh up against that lack of damage, because the Rodok's got the hook, he's got the extra damage capacity of just like taking a breather, and then you all of a sudden have like 900 collective HP. Yeah. So it's just not quite the same. And Obey Alliance, when we go to further maps, I do expect them to not keep sticking with that Winston all the time, because realistically speaking, it is a control thing. But if they have such a different opinion on how the meta is supposed to be played, we might see some more of that seep through in other maps. And,
I mean, I was going to ask you anyway about the tank line for Obey Alliance specifically.
Sure.
Health doesn't seem comfortable with the way that this is playing out at all, and I'm not entirely sure whether or not he has been known to play a Roadhog, or he has been known to play Zarya for some of that. Do you have any light to shed on that? Is there something in his background that I might not know?
I think at this point, if you can play a good Winston, which I think Health is definitely looking like he can play a good Winston. He had a lot of good Primal Rages. It's just that, what happens outside the Primal Rage is also important. We're really looking at a position here where I think Health is probably flexible enough to go over to something like a Rodok or a Zarya. It's just that just being able to play the hero is not the whole story. Because playing Roadhog is not the same as just going on a flank and getting hooks all the time, like it used to be, way back in 2016, 2017. No, playing Roadhog now, you can't combo it with Orisa holds. You cannot just go on a flank. You have to sort of play Roadhog as a main tank, which is a very weird concept. And of course, Half knows how to play main tank, so you would think, okay, so he plays Roadhog, but he just plays main tank and he plays Roadhog like it's a main tank. Like those dots should be connecting, but that is still something about this meta that teams are still discovering. What we're still discovering as casters and as viewers, and the teams in general still are. So it's all about what the teams prefer to do. And now we go to Junkertown. Not anyone's map pick, by the way. These maps have all been pre-selected. We'll see if anything changes on the side of Obey Alliance. What we can say, though, when we look at the team of Sheer Cold, is they're gonna go with something slightly different. It's not completely different, slightly different. This is a very Junkertown-esque composition, in my opinion. So you start with that Widowmaker on Grathan, long sidelines, Junkertown, Widowmaker's playground, first point. It's amazing. Backbone still in the Tracer. Why not? A lot of flanky routes. You can get behind everybody. Shade still on the Roadhog. No reason to change that. Alex goes over to the Sigma, so that experimental barrier to block some headshots to give some more space to your backline to move forward. And then you have Loser and Refit on the Zenyatta for the extra damage boost, and the Mercy for the damage boost.
Well, actually, we do see a bit of a difference there. Khan opting to stay on the Ana. Wonder whether or not that is going to be the game changer here, whether or not it is the Zenyatta or the Ana that will give you more value on this setup, especially with Lethal and Grathan on both sides. These Widowmakers are known for their prowess, so I'm looking forward to seeing what's happening right now.
Lethal has a better position now. It's actually Grathan has to relocate and find a different sideline now. Oh, it's all about who sees the other Widow first, right? That's the lineup. Who can see the other one? But it's Kenny that goes in deep with that Wrecking Ball and sets up for the kill on Loser.
Yeah, that's right. Sao immediately funds onto Refits, and no more healers on the field right now. Obey Alliance in a very good position to keep this from escalating. Actually escalating it further. That was beautifully set up here. And all on the back of some great DPS action.
And we see it happen every single time in Junkertown now. One team is in defense, the other team walks through that mega health pack room and just blows them up. And it was a nice combo with Kenny's Wrecking Ball as well to disable them from running away too fast. And the fact that they have, or had, that Zenyatta Mercy means that there isn't enough healing. They need to get that immediate burst on the Roadhog or the Wrecking Ball or a DPS in order to keep living and keep sustaining, because otherwise they will not have the healing of an Ana to sustain through all that. Now they do see Loser switch over to the Ana. Usually teams will do that. First time it doesn't work out, you just, you accept it. You want to fight even. And now they're just the mirrors almost. It's Alex and Kenny.
That's right. Kenny, of course, on that Wrecking Ball. Nice pull up there. Lethal immediately responding to that. And that is what you call synergy of kit right there. Nice eat, Alex. Eat that pulse bomb. Sal was maybe a tiny bit too confident over there, just setting it up. Oh, Shade actually just fishes Lethal out, but that is not going according to plan for them. This payload still moving up as Seni comes in from the sideline, is trying to go and pressure those DPS players. Backbone finds Admiral Raptor, though, who overflew their target, trying to heal Seni out, and this could just equalize it for a little bit as Sheer Cold are back on the defensive setup, and they are on that high ground, making something happen. Lethal with a shot on Raptor, though.
Lethal so far been doing pretty good, but does get caught up by Grathan once again. Health does find that other Widowmaker, so we're even in terms of snipers, especially when that res comes out. Nice pulse bomb. Doesn't quite get anybody.
Yeah, but Khan being down, that is hard. Chow actually finds Alex as well, sending on to Lusa yet again. And there's the whole hawk coming in from the side room. Does not really stop a lot of it because most of that ultimate was set onto health. And that means that payload will most likely inch ever closer. But there it is, the cheer call coming back in. The H9 could actually be a possibility still. Grafton, nice shot onto Lethal, looking for more, but loses the fight to Khan. Help with a double kill, and he is just set to redeem himself right away, as it is only Alex preventing the 2-point cap, and there we are.
Yeah, it's so far looking very good for Obey Alliance. They haven't really been stopped. Payload's been rolling constantly. And what we see between these teams a lot is that they don't really stop fighting. There's always someone still alive. They're always just trading. It's very chaotic in that way. But it also shows which team is better at doing those soft resets, at recognizing their advantage. And so far, Obey Alliance is doing a great job at that.
Very passive. High ground setup with a good shot from Grafton on that. I was going to ask you what you thought about, waiting for so long before engaging on that high ground setup. But Lethal and Grafton are just duking it out over the head of the rest of both of these teams. And it's beautiful to see. Good ultimate Graphitic Flux on Alex's side. Doesn't really find a lot of damage on that. But the utility is at least that this payload halted momentarily.
Actually waste that Gravitic Flux a little bit, because there's no follow-up. If you have anyone else, then maybe Admiral Rapture went down. Not the case, though. Now this payload's still rolling, and they lost an ultimate.
That's right, Lethal once again with a beautiful shot, and this time I have to give the edge to Lethal. He is, just as the name implies, deadly. Shade almost going down because health was there, has that nano boost, has that whole hog. Make sure that 3 notches are now in the stock of his weapon, and he's looking for more. That was beautiful. Lethal with a double kill on the other side as well, and this is a complete, and that was quick. 3 minutes and 16 on the clock.
I love how Health just accidentally gets backbone there. Like, you see them looking at the Ana, like, I'm gonna hook her out of spawn. I'm gonna get you, loser. And then all of a sudden, there's a Tracer that blinks or recalls in front of him. And just hooks the Tracer. It's like, well, I don't even know what to do with this. Then it's actually Lethal that takes the headshot on it. It's been good so far. This is it's been a great run of Obey Alliance. Of course, this was one of the maps that was in Contenders, so both teams fairly familiar with it. But not with this current meta. You can immediately see that Kenny now being on the wrecking ball, and sometimes maybe we wanted to go for that Sigma. It's just they're able to put so much pressure onto Grafton, especially on the Widowmaker, that Grafton just doesn't get the freedom to do anything. Grafton and Lethal, both of them actually, were under a lot of pressure from the tanks and from the other DPS and the Tracers. So yeah, I mean, not saying that they shouldn't be on Widowmaker, because they definitely got value here and there. But you do see how rough it is to play that hero when, yes, you do have the sidelines most of the time, but they're also so easy to get on top of you because the peel has been reduced so much. There's not as much, oh, you just run away and then you have an Immortality Field and then you have all these 5 cooldowns that help you out before they even can get to you. It's much easier now. And when we switch sides here, we see Kenny start on that Sigma for the sidelines, but Khan does start on that Ana. No Zenyatta shenanigans from Obey Alliance. They don't want to get overrun as much, but it will be Alex and Shade that go for that ultimate power duo with the Zarya and the Roadhog for the ultimate damage tanks.
That's right, and they are moving out of the gate, Grafton, moving it in from below, making sure that there is enough cover from that Roadhog hook, and of course the opposing Widowmaker. Sao and Backbone, should both of them already be hunting for the enemy backline. We do see Alex putting a lot of pressure onto Seni on that Sigma. That is absolutely beautiful. Now we do see that it may not work as well as they thought, because once again, it seems to be lacking in the follow-up department on the side of Sheer Cold for a bit right now.
Yeah, that's a slight. There's different elements to that, right? Is it that you just don't have the coordination, don't have the team communication? A lot of things going on there. Oh, that nice combo there for Grafton and Backbone to put Lethal in that corner. They just had to be shot by either of them. But Alex goes on the other side. And with tank lines down in this meta, it's very hard to keep pushing.
That's right, and this meta is not very forgiving in general. Like you said, once you die, or once you are in a rough spot even, there's not a lot of mechanics that can keep you from actually biting the bullet on that setup. And both of these teams are just playing a, well, not very flawed game. That means they do stay alive for the most part. Lethal going down. Lusa finding Zhao on their sideline, and it looks like Sheer Cold are just firing it in hard right now. They are filing for the full equalizer. 2 minutes and 23 on the clock, a bit slower than their counterpart when they were here.
Somehow Loser didn't die there. They were just completely dancing around the Obey Alliance. And they were just, oh, we gotta get Loser, we gotta get Loser. In the meantime, they were just all taken out. Unfortunate. First point will be capped here. Slightly slower than what Obey Alliance did, but still a very decent pace. Nothing to scoff at. And we look at the ultimate banks. Both teams have got something to work with. So the momentum is not quite there for Sheer Cold. That might slow them down further down the map. At 3 minutes 16, it's a lot to catch up with.
Yeah, you do see the immediate change here. Obey Alliance are able to defend very far forward compared to where their counterparts were. Sheer Cold, remember, used that high ground further down that corner, while Obey Alliance settled over there south with a nice stuck onto Refit, and this could be the start of a beautiful animosity between these teams. Shade, though, finds help on the sideline. Now Senny with the ultimate coming straight in and trying to hold Sheer Cold away. There's the whole hog. This time, not enough matrix on the side of Senny to eat it, but to keep himself alive, there is.
Yeah, so far Lethal on 1 HP will probably get taken out by the Tracer. Yeah, it looks like a fairly done deal for point B as well. It's just the tanks left. They're being chased down right now. I don't think that Chow and crew can really come back here and properly defend this. They might just go for some time buying.
Yeah, nope. Chow goes very deep, goes very aggressive, but goes very low as well. At the end of the day, losing it to Backbone. The cap is there, 4 minutes and 40. So it's a bit of a hustle if they want to equalize here, but both of these teams in absolutely no direct peril to run out of time, and that, you know, we'll see whether or not I'm right on that one.
Yeah, I know. It definitely looks like they have plenty of time to complete this map, but they need to keep it rolling. They can't really get stalled out too much. Oh. And now they have Lethal going back over to Sombra. It's an ultimate stall character. The character that just makes you want to not push sometimes because you're hacked.
Yeah, and especially if you fire up on that very powerful front line, that can just derail whatever you're doing. We do see Sheer Cold trying to make something happen. Lethal on Refit on the other side. Senny is just trying to make something happen, just rolling around that payload right there, but does not really stall it out all that much. On the payload, though, only the tanks for Sheer Cold right now.
Lethal can spawn camp here, though. Like, Lethal and Chow are just waiting for that Mercy to come out, and Refit is going to have a very hard time getting out. It's going to be Lethal actually going down. But with this back and forth that both these teams have been doing, it looks very good for Obey Alliance because they got the spawn advantage. They can, like, trade 1-for-1 and be okay.
Oh, nice one! Wow, first the anti-nade, then the stick, and both of them go down. Beautiful shade now with the whole hog, and we do see a Sheer Cold trying to make this extend for as long as they can. This is beautifully played. Obey Alliance not in a chance to touch it yet again. Round 2 complete, and not a lot of difference. Look at the time banks now.
7 seconds. 7 seconds is the difference between these teams. That's how much better Obey Alliance is. 7 seconds worth. No, it's not at all. It's basically nothing, right? Both these teams essentially did not get stopped throughout their entire runs on the streets phase and the third point, even on the first point. So yeah, it's honestly not that easy to pick a winner out of these. If you have to do anything here, you have to give Obey Alliance credit for how fast they pushed past point A and how I'm sorry, sort of okay they defended point A in the first place. They didn't get completely overrun. So now that we see the change of Sheer Cold coming out on their attack, you know, they're still on their attack right now. They're going to have to do it again. Will Obey Alliance start out with that Sombra in the beginning? And the answer is, of course, yes, because we can see that already. But now we can see that actually makes a difference. Lethal not going for that Widow 1v1. They were completely zoned out on point A last time. Just constantly a Tracer, or a Tracer, or a Tracer, or maybe sometimes a Widowmaker that just kept shooting them. It's like they had no room to maneuver. And at Lethal's on the Sombra, Chow can maybe play more, and Kenny, they can play more of that backline duty every now and then, protecting Khan especially, and Admiral Raptor. And then Lethal and Health can just start doing the damage in the front line. It's really going to be the DPS difference here. Can Grathan get their value, or are they going to be the ones that have a Tracer or a Sombra in their face all the time now?
Well, both of these Tracers are very, very good. Backbone and Chow showing that they can do the Lord's work. Of course, Backbone, however, at least looking at both of the maps combined so far, has more, well, at least kills, eliminations at the end of it all. But with the help of that Sombra on Lethal, that might soon change for Chow's side.
Definitely, and Chow looks to be more of a peel backline tracer. They're not really going in that deep a lot of the time. Sometimes they do. You see there, Grathan gets that shot on the Chow, just kills him straight away. And Shade is now going to be under pressure from Lethal, it seems. They want to farm that EMP. They want to disable that hook. They just want to make sure that Rodok has a bad time of it.
That's right. Regrets his life decisions, and that's exactly what a good Sombra does, and Lethal seems to know exactly how to do that. Backbone onto Health. Shade on the sideline gets Admiral Raptor right there. Shade with a double kill, but Chow and Khan come back and get Backbone and Refrit out of it. So this fight is not over right now. Lethal going down, Chow at the end of the day biting the bullets, and this time it is not to be. We do see a very fast point A cap comparatively to the first one for Sheer Cold here.
Yeah, the big difference is, of course, that Lethal has that EMP. Just one EMP fight, they can deny a lot of the ultimates coming out, just make sure the overtime is running, and win off of that one ultimate, combined maybe with the self-destruct, with the Gravitic Flux, Pulse Bomb, even the whole Hog. You know, there's nothing they can do against it when they're all hacked, and they don't have anything like a Lucio or a Zenyatta to really buffer against a Transcendent, against the EMP. Just not there. So, yeah, it's really all about that EMP this time around.
Senni holding up on that high ground, immediately flanked or crossfired by Health on the other side. They are just looking to find something vulnerable, and something vulnerable is actually in that Graphitic Flux, and there it goes. Refit biting the bullet, and so goes, there goes Alex. Lethal on the sideline as well, but Grathan makes sure that Senni is not as dominant as he would have wanted on the back of the overtime wake already running right now, and Obey Alliance are not looking like they can stop it for point B.
It really doesn't, and they had a very nice setup. They were like, okay, so we're gonna Gravitic Flux, and we're gonna EMP, but before they could even execute their plan, Sheer Cold was already executing theirs. The Bob came out, the whole Hawk comes out, the Nano Boost comes out, like everything is done before Obey Alliance can make their move, and they couldn't even find Grathan and that follow-up of that Gravitic Flux. They do only find Admiral Raptor, and that's just not going to be enough. Grathan gets to pick on the Chow early here as well. It's looking like a hot run here for Sheer Cold.
Yeah, but that is something that I've seen from Chow a couple of times. Very far forward, very aggressive, but takes a lot of damage. And when you are up against Backbone and Grathan, you want to at least maybe play a little bit more conservatively. Chow maybe just a bit too sure of himself on this one. The overtime wake still running as we round the final corner.
Lethal now also on the Ash, just trying to match that one up. The Nano Hawk from Health comes out again. They want to push them off this cart, but it's not going to happen just yet.
Well, Health gets the double. Senni follows it up. Lethal there as well. The overtime wick is running low. That was a very, very, very long push on the side of Sheer Cold, but at the end of the day, Obey Alliance are able to stop it.
Yeah, the whole Nano is just a very, very dangerous preposition. You know, you throw a whole hog in there, a lot of CC, a lot of damage, and then you add that Nano Boost. It's just more of everything. More chaos, more damage, more just where do I actually go because I'm just getting pushed away from this cart. And that just puts you in a precarious position. So nicely executed from Obey Alliance. Unfortunately, it came very late. They could have maybe done it on second already with that EMP.
Yes.
But wasn't meant to be. It was a good execution from Sheer Cold. They definitely got the value. Grathan on that Ash was a far more valuable pick on than they were on that Widowmaker. So we'll see if they're going to continue with that. It looks so far like they want to be on the Widowmaker on the defense, but Lethal will potentially start on that Ash on the other side. So we'll see how Obey Alliance adapts to this, because so far they are the team that has seemed to be one step behind every single time. They're the ones that are making the switches, and when that happens, you do start getting that into your head that you're always one step behind. You do feel like Sheer Cold has that number up on you, and Obey Alliance need to find a way to turn that around. And when they put Kenny back on that wrecking ball, that's when they say we're going to play our game. We're not going to necessarily just try and match up exactly what you do. We're going to put pressure on what you do with our own methods.
That's right, but Grathen was probably expected to stay on the Widowmaker. Very, very comfortable on that one. Very, very lethal on that one if you let them. So Grathen looking immediately for a jump shot. Does not yet know that there is an Ashe on the field. And by now, that should actually be information available to them. And they are looking for the first couple of shots. Senny needs to pull back after a couple of hits on the sideline. Lethal looking for targets on the side of Obey Alliance, but it is Grathen with the first blood. Finds Chow on the sideline. Lethal pulling back, almost getting hooked by Shade, and now it should be up to Obey Alliance to push it further in, but they are a bit, well, hesitant to do so.
Yeah, so far it's been a very conservative and of course very controlled push is what we say. We call it an EMEA push at this point. It's looking pretty good, but Lethal under a lot of pressure again from that Tracer and does get taken down by Backbone while Grathen gets Kenny.
That's right, Backbone and Grathen just seem to be picking a target and both of them going for it. The recall coming out of Chow here did not really have a lot of options other than getting out. Is under a tiny bit of pressure as it is Khan looking for the sniper fight versus Grathen. Shade coming back from spawn, probably looking for something to do. Barely misses Khan there. That was a nice try on the hook though.
Hey, we're close, but you do lose Luther on the other side, and it looks like Obey Alliance has got an angle now. Yes, they lose Lethal. Luther gets res, but they're still in a very good position. As I say that, it's going to be too much. They're just going to get taken out, Ollie.
That's right, and Grathen in a close combat fight versus Chow. He used that pulse bomb at the end of the day, gets the win there, but Grathen was able to keep him busy and away from the rest of Obey Alliance for a long time. Backbone with a double stock on the Lethal and Admiral Raptor, and Sheer Cold back in the driver's seat on this one. 4 seconds to go, and there is practically nothing that Chow can do here because they used that recall. That is just a right click from Grathen now on that soldier, and this should by all means not be stallable for Obey Alliance because Sheer Cold looking very, very solid on that. The overtime wick running slowly down, and there is no one to touch.
Yeah, so far, Obey Alliance. I mean, we were questioning, right? Like, does Half have what it takes to go with something else than that Winston on those main tank heroes, the traditional ones? But I think they look really good on that Roadhog. I definitely think, I mean, they get to play the game here. I mean, we won't be able to see it because of certain issues, but it's going to be, I mean, Health just did a lot, like really did a lot there on that Roadhog. And it was really, it almost came down to what happens with either the other tank, which I think Alex definitely had a number up on Kenny a lot of the time, but also what happens with the DPS, because Backbone so far has been running circles around Chow a little bit. They know they have a little bit more control in the way they play Tracer. They know exactly when to go, when to not go, how far they can go, but also get a lot of value out of their pulse bombs. So at least 2 double kills just in this map alone. And then we have Grathen that, generally speaking, wasn't under as much pressure as Lethal was when they were on the Widowmaker or on the Ashe, and just kept getting more value and more damage out a lot of the time. So yeah, that really, when you look at further maps, it's a Junkertown thing where that Widowmaker or Ashe battle is really important, and that might not come back on other maps as much. But we've said this about control, right? Like, oh, if that was control, maybe it doesn't matter for the other map. And now we're going to say it about Junkertown too. At some point, you just need to consider whether Obey Alliance just hasn't had the time to properly gel with this new roster. Because, of course, they did come in with 3 new players. And it is showing here and there that either the peel or the reaction of certain players to what someone else is doing isn't quite there. And while they have set plays, that speed of execution, that almost telepathic way you just go without even having to say it, that isn't quite visible there. Whereas on Sheer Cold, they feel more decisive, feel more just clicking in a lot of ways. It's a very abstract thing, but you can see it in the speed where they execute, how they execute, what value they get from combos. It's visible.
There's actually numbers to support that as well, because I have been making little slits on that, because I had this suspicion that Backbone and Chow, the difference is not the individual quality at all. No, the difference is that Chow gets more solo kills. Backbone gets more kills overall because every time they do, it's with an assist from one or more teammates. So looking at that, Chow had more solo kills, I believe 15 in total. But it is Backbone on the other side. He is just way above there. 29 I counted it while casting, so it might not be completely correct here. But Backbone had 29 assisted eliminations there, and that just means that the value overall of the team cohesion is just so much better.
Yeah, and of course, when you look at how the teams play, it's very apparent in the way that Obey Alliance kind of wants to execute, which they might almost feel forced to execute in this way, where if you play with a newer team, what you can often try and exploit is your experience as individuals, or the way that you play around as individuals, where you mostly kind of encircle the enemy team. You go for more of that duel style, like 1v1s all over the map. Whereas Sheer Cold has this very nice way of just sort of spearheading through Obey Alliance, and they're trying to not get caught in that net. They just break through the net that Obey Alliance is setting up, and then when the mazes are broken, all of a sudden they're on top of them. But right now, when we're on Anubis, it's going to be another new pick coming out. Lethal going over to that Genji, Chow on the Sombra, Health back on the Winston, Kenny on the Zarya out of attack, and we see nothing really change from that last map on the side of Sheer Cold. They're going to go with a tried and true, and why not? They still have to be beaten on it.
That's right, and Obey Alliance going for what I would say a very, very risky jump combination here. It's the Chinese rush, I believe, as they call it, with that front line and the Genji on the DPS. So we'll see whether or not that is something that will work out. Right now, Obey Alliance basically just testing the waters, feeling it out. Khan already going down though, as Grathan finds some value.
Everyone thought this was what the meta was going to go to with that Winston Zarya, the double bubble. As everyone called.
Grathan takes another
just hitting shots. Damage boosted by the Mercy. The Ashe is just a menace to deal with, and so far Lethal and Chow are not able to find the same value. Ultimates aren't that far apart though. It's not a huge lead, but they will be aligned a bit sooner for that bomb and that pulse bomb. It's gonna be. I mean, they have to get in and get on top of someone somehow, because Sheer Cold is very spread out. Wherever you go, they will be able to support each other while not being close enough that the EMP really get value.
Back Health keeps trying to peek, and every time Grathan is there just with a shot, Sao already going down. The Tracer once again on the prowl. That Maraptor is biting the bone as well, and that means that another of the another one of these attacks could actually just be stalled or even completely stopped. Seni though, nice double kill though. Lethal goes down. Seni's able to do a lot of damage. 2 minutes and 17 on the clock, and if Obey Alliance put their head to it, they could actually get the better of Sheer Cold just on the back of Seni's double kill right there.
Yeah, we'll see how oh, there we go. Seni gets that kill on the Alex. It's a good opening. No rest coming out. This is Obey Alliance all of a sudden coming in with a vengeance.
That is, yeah, Backbone being vengeanced by Sao, and Sao goes for number 2 in the body of Alusa. Point A has been captured. A lot of ultimates in the bank. 4 minutes 44 on the clock, so this could be over quickly if Obey Alliance decides to just go all in on it.
Yeah, Obey Alliance, they can just snowball this. They do have the ultimates to work with. It's 4 online, and there's not that much on the other side. That Graf really needs to get a lot from Alex in order to find value. Maybe they can stall a bit with Shade's whole hog, but that EMP could just stop any plans they have. They are getting low, but there they go.
And there's the EMP with that startup. Shade already going down. Now Lethal looking for some targets. Hasn't done the blade just yet, and that is a good thing because they were immediately caught in that Zarya ultimate. Refit coming back, getting Shade back in, even though Seni finds the other healer in the meantime. But it looks like Sheer Cold can stabilize it for now. Seni onto Shade there for a little bit. Makes a double. Takes Alex out as well, but not a lot Obey Alliance can do here. The only one still alive is Seni, and if that is enough to hold the entirety of Sheer Cold, either Seni is very good or Sheer Cold are just not on the right foot for a defense just yet.
One tick ticked over, but there has been some kills on the side of Obey Alliance, so they need to find more in order to get something going. Alex is going down. The blade is still out from Lethal. He's able to zone everyone in spawn. It's really only one player on that point that is holding on, and right now that point is ticking up. 1%, 2%, 3 ticks. There we go. 3 minutes 22.
3 minutes 22.
The thing is, I would have found that EMP a bit questionable because Lethal goes in, but can't really see a lot of what's going on point because of the walls, the architecture. So it goes in as an EMP hits maybe 2 or 3 targets, and then Lethal does get that kill in the shade straight away, but does get solo graphed by Alex, and then dies. I can't pull out the blade, but somehow they're able to pull it back again on the side of Obey Alliance. It was a very back and forth fight, and not at all something you often see on 2CP. With the trades that happened, with the sort of chaotic way that fight went through, it is very almost unbelievable how Obey Alliance actually managed that point. But a lot of it still revolves on that tank line. Health and Kenny are doing such a good job of not dying in certain situations where they can just keep on going back, CCing people out, distracting, getting damage back in, and that means that Chow and Lethal are just so much more free to do whatever they want together with Khan and Admiral Raptor, but the tanks are just distracting, not even killing a lot. They did eventually, but not initially, and that's good to see that they still have that mentality to go, and 2CP is a good map for that.
I mean, Seni on point 2, absolutely crazy, but the real kicker there was that the entire support line, so both Khan and Admiral Raptor, were allowed to live there. Otherwise, Kenny would not have been able to stall it long enough for Health and the entire DPS roster to come back in there. Sheer Cold should have been able to hold that, and I'm not entirely sure why, but no one was going for the supports on Obey Alliance.
So far, Obey Alliance is just able to get their backline very safe. It's good work from their tanks, I think, especially. You know, they just keep going back and forth, really double teaming it, and then just making sure that, whatever DPS wants to do, they don't have the space to do it. It's not that easy to get around an enemy team on a map like Anubis, where it's very linear and not so much for the flanks.
Yeah, now we do see an almost mirror. Once again, Health opting to go on that Monkey versus the Shade on the Roadhog. Still not a big fan of that setup personally, but we'll see how it will fire out. Health is just looking for the next opportunity to jump. Lethal, this time on the high ground, trying to emulate what Grathan did to his team earlier. Wow, actually evades the hook by just going around that corner. Lethal with a very good response there. A little bit of luck. Also, that is part of the full Contenders Trials experience, of course.
Health and Kenny so far showing that they're still the teammates that stuck together in Obey Alliance. They were the ones that got replaced or left. So they can still show up that synergy with that Zarya Winston, and it is working so far. Health is able to go in and go back out. Now gets the Nana boost going straight after that Mercy Ashe combination. Yeah, they're not gonna live. It's not even worried about Shade there as well.
Yeah, Shade not really in a position to assert dominance when Health takes down the entire support squad there. That was beautifully played.
Yeah, and right now it's looking at a world of difference. Sheer Cold is under so much pressure to try and get in here. They're finally starting to get some ultimates online. They'll have 5. This is not that graph because Alex has just been not getting any charge, not getting close to anybody to really do that damage. But you know, there's plenty to work with the Obey Alliance. They're not worried yet. They're still in a great position. They own the Bob just to stop them from going in there. The hack is beautiful.
That is great. Khan and Lethal immediately find value out of the Bob there and are just able to stall it out. 1 minute 47. The hack, I don't even think that went through, but it was a very good attempt.
I mean, even if it doesn't, right? It doesn't make them look at you at the same time while they're trying to look into that window. And right now, Chow is closer to the EMP than they ever were before. They were like 60% before. Now they're on 90, so they'll get it in this next fight. And that's just all the time they needed to buy. They needed that 1 kill with that Bob to cycle up the next ultimates.
Another grab is ready. They could actually just grab them in the entrance.
That's exactly what they do.
Exactly what they're doing. Health jumping straight in. Has not used that ultimate just yet, but doesn't get the chance at the other time. But it is Lethal who finds all the value in the world there on the back of a solid Graviton surge.
Yeah, I think the Holy Monster is the wrong word. You should just be called the Prophet. I think that's fine. You know, make it. We will. Yeah, exactly. The Prophesizer. You know, something like that. I don't know. Make it a bit more more epic. I don't know. Well, it's yeah, still playing in the bank now. Finally, the 6 almost online for sheer cold. This is really the push they have, not just because of the time, but because if you were going to win any push, it's the one with 6 ultimates. But there's Chow waiting to throw a wrench in their plans. He wants to stop that EMP.
He does want to stop everything with that EMP. He has to pull back there for a bit, but being on top there is actually a very, very good starting point for a jump EMP. Good sleep onto Health. Health in trouble. That was beautifully set up as a sleep. Then the pulse bomb to come up with this EMP. And this time, it is not looking very great as both Alex and Grathan were actually involved in that. Refit went down there as well after being EMP'd out of the sky. Right now, though, it is looking good. Sheer Cold valiantly fighting it out. Grathan had that Bob in there, and Admiral Raptor making sure that they give them something to write home about. The overtime week still running. It's 1 versus 1. Backbone and Alex still in there, and it is Backbone. He had to pull back for a second, but is not able to hold it for any longer after coming back onto the point. Now Alex versus Seni, but Alex in trouble, gets pushed back here. Health and Admiral Raptor on their weapons of choice, namely the Wrecking Ball and the Lucio, respectively. Seni tries it with the ultimate, does not really find a target, but does not need to because they're just killing it outright. Obey Alliance taking it, and this is a 2-1. This is an open match all of a sudden now. This is great.
Exactly. 2-1 series, first to 3, and it was really, and that last fight, Khan and Kenny, just the power duo. Khan untouched on the high ground. They wanted to maybe get up there with Grathan, but that EMP put so much pressure onto both Refit and Grathan that there was nothing to be done. They were just completely out of sorts. Khan just gets to heal whoever they want from the high ground. Kenny cannot die as a result. This throws the gravel to Grathan when they come back on the soldier and just make sure that no one else is even able to threaten their Ana. That was beautiful cleanup, beautiful control from Khan and Kenny to play it that safe, use that fountain to get around that high ground position. And if you cannot get on top of that Ana, especially on Anubis defense, you know, she's just going to keep those tanks alive. They're very sustainable, do a lot of damage, so you cannot even get on top of them that easily with lower numbers. And yeah, just good combination there. Khan really showing up as a new member of this team. And now they're going to Eichenwalde. We said it before the series. We were both like, oh, I so hope they're going to Eichenwalde. Even our producer was like, yes, I really want them to go to Eichenwalde. And rightfully so. It's a great map. And more importantly, we might be able to see some more fire out of Grathan here.
Oh yeah, that would be beautiful. Though, on the other side, you have to understand how good Lethal is on that Ash. So getting a Pharah out there with that big skybox with a lot of open sight lines might actually not work out for them. So I'm looking forward to see how this is going to play out. Sao, I still expect on the Tracer, maybe on the Sombra for this one. But more interesting to me is the tank line for both of these teams. Are we going to see that Winston again, or is there something else waiting in the wings for us?
It's all about, do you expect that Pharah, right? Because if you expect that Pharah, Kenny might just go back over to that D.Va to start off with. And then when point B hits, you might switch off the D.Va and off the Ashe. You might stay on one of them. Oh, yeah. It's really, again, it's what they prefer. It's what they've been scrimming. It's what they're expecting. It's all that psychological warfare going on at the same time. You know they played it on Nepal. Are they going to also play it on Eichenwalde here? Who knows? They're going to have to start on attack themselves. I don't think that they'll have to really expect anything. They can just walk out, see what's there, and then swap accordingly if they want to.
Yeah.
So it's really up to Sheer Cold to set the precedent. You know, do we play fire on defense? Do we just stick with what we've been playing in the last map? Not that it necessarily didn't work. It was just Obey Alliance played a lot better and a lot differently there. So yeah, it does look like they want to run out with it. It's looking like it's going to happen, and it's understandable. This is the map where you would run it.
It's the map where you would and could run it, but this is, of course, an entirely different puppy than any 2CP map. So seeing whether or not Obey Alliance are able to respond to that Far Mercy, which we know works super well on Grathan and Revit, that is going to be in the stars. Personally, I don't think Lethal will give them a lot of value, but we will see how it works out.
We thought that last time around, but they did stick around for a long time, got a lot of value on Nepal Shrine. It's a bit of a different map, but there's still plenty of cover to work around and plenty of spam to do, especially on the defense. And already Lethal's not on the Ashe. They're actually on the McCree, but oh, the sleep dart from Khan actually got Grathan. Wow. That's, yeah, that feels bad if you're Grathan. Like, I got slept by Nana there.
Yeah. Khan just warming up at this point. Just super nice to see with that sleep dart over the rooftops right there. That's just beautiful. Lethal already under a lot of pressure, like you said, from Grathan, just trying to make sure that the sky is clear for their team to actually push in. Now, damage boosted by Admiral Raptor might actually just work out for them. Sees Shade in the far side, but is unable to do a lot, I was about to say, until they nearly just insta-flick backbone.
Yeah, very good. Already got 2 ticks up. They do both lose a member, but so far, Obey Alliance in full control of this.
Yep, Obey Alliance making sure that they get their shots worth, and Lethal especially taking Alex and Luther out of that this time with a lot of help from his friends. 5 minutes and 20 on the clock. The payload is rolling in, and so is Chow, who is just already at the gates telling them the good name of the good Lord. This is beautiful.
So far as well, I will say the way that Obey Alliance has started playing is very different than it was before. They really have a very high priority on trying to get Refit and Grathan out of the way, whatever they're playing. That Ashe Mercy combo, that Pharah Mercy combo, with the Widow Mercy combo, that's what they want to get out of the way. You see, just straight backlining, beelining for that Grathan. And now there was peel, but there isn't always going to be.
There isn't always going to be, especially when you have a little more than just health up on that bridge, just to make some pressure happening. Lethal going down, but Grathan immediately bites the bullet afterwards, because there's your pressure. There's Chow, and Chow has been very aggressive, like we said, but it has been working for him in the last map and a half, I might say. So maybe we will just see what the thought process is behind that for a little bit longer. That whole Hawk finds health on the sideline there, and wow, I must say, while Sheer Court looked valiantly on the defense, Obey Alliance are just pressing W.
They really are, but right now that cart stopped under that bridge. The high ground is in complete control for Sheer Cold. It consistently puts Shade next to Grathan and Refit to not allow for that easy dive to come out. It's a lot harder than it was on Anubis, and a lot harder than it was on Point A. This high ground is really doing Obey Alliance in a little bit, and now that they have that Winston and that Diva, yes, they can dive a bit easier, but now they have to worry about their own backline again.
We will see whether or not they have to worry so much so that they will not be able to concentrate on the front line. Now moving in though, Health has that aggression, goes in there with the Primal Rage, almost able to boot Lucer off. At the end of the day, Senny is there to finish the job, but that looked like the ultimate could have been maybe postponed for a little bit longer. But, you know, you never know where that sleep dart is going to hit.
Once again, go for the Mercy, go for the Ashe, and they do get them both. Refit now also out of the fight, and they just keep CCing and bouncing them around with those nano boosts and the Primal Rages.
Yeah, now there you see a good fight set up. Alex already under pressure from Senny, and Health just jumps in and helps out with that. 2 minutes 48 on the clock. That should get extended anytime soon, though they are holding it. Grathan is there, so is Refit with the ultimate. The Valkyrie already firing Shade with that whole hog. Takes down 2, is going for number 3. Senny just barely tries to make it out, needs to see the ravine from the lower side there, and this payload is stopping 20 centimeters before point or something like that. It's crazy.
It's just too little distance to go. But this is exactly what we're saying, right? They're looking for that win condition. Their win condition is take out Grathan and Refit. As long as we do that, we keep so much pressure on them because they're not able to do enough damage back. That Shade, we can just dart circles around if we want to, really. And then all we need to do is make sure our backline doesn't die, which usually is pretty achievable as long as Grathan doesn't get any space to work with. And Yeah,
And it is very achievable because Alex and Shade, both of them, don't really get the chance to pressure the backline very much. They try to pressure the opposing front line, but the opposing front line is just not there because they're jumping all over the place. Chow and Health once again going in there. First with that Pulse Bomb, then the Primal Rage coming out from Health, and Health making a lot of space for...
In a situation where, because of all the pressure that Obey Alliance has been putting out, Sheer Cold has had to frantically invest ultimate in situations where they didn't want to. So now they're finally going to be in a position where they're sort of comfortable, but the pressure's still on with that sound barrier.
That's right, and also there's a Reinhardt. Well, goes down very early, but I am happy because we finally get to see a Reinhardt again in this crazy town of a meta. There's the EMP coming straight out. The only one who was actually afflicted by that was Alex for a while, but that's enough to actually get Grathan down. The payload moving forward, no one to touch, no one even close. I don't know why they took so long, why they were waiting for so long over there in that. Just watch it happen.
I think Backbone also got hacked, so they were still backed off a little bit, and then that Zarya also was hacked. It does seem like we have a little bit of an issue coming out here, but it'll be fine. It's we'll see where that goes. But of course, first round complete. Obey Alliance do complete that map for about what was it, 2 minutes left or something? 2 minutes something?
2 minutes 20, I believe, yeah.
Pretty decent. It's a pretty decent time, you know, for a map like Eichenwalde. And of course, when we go to the other side now, we'll have to see whether Sheer Cold can at all come close to a time like that.
Well, that fully depends on a defensive setup, right? Obey Alliance will need to have a defensive plan for this that is both not readable for Sheer Cold and still going to be able to stand up to that impressive front line that they've been playing so far.
Yeah. 100%. I've seemed to have a little bit of an issue with my feed, if that's okay.
That's not just on you.
Okay. We'll,
Just kidding, Winston. It works great.
It's all okay. We're just gonna get a new link from our producer, and we'll all be good to go. So far, though, it's been a very close series. The Obey Alliance seems to have come online. Their new strategy of being able to dive that backline, dive that DPS support duo, has been working out very well for them. So all they really need to do now is keep the good times rolling. You know, keep that going. And now it's actually Sheer Cold that has to find that answer.
Yeah, it does look like we will have some interesting stuff going on because the match, of course, went on even though we were not fully able to set it up. Chow finds Alex on the sideline. Obey Alliance putting up a valiant defense so far, but Sheer Cold already very, very far in the enemy setup straight away. Chow is looking very, very low, needs to get some healing, but finds Shade on the sideline. We do see that the fight has progressed. Well, not really progressed far past the first point because the payload still nicely parked over there, but Sheer Cold for some reason opted to go all the way behind Obey Alliance there.
I mean, sometimes that's a strategy you can employ, right? Especially when you run with that Fire Rush, you can fly all right around the cliff, the Tracer can get there, the Wrecking Ball can get there, you can get that flank going. But most of the time, you don't opt to do it because it takes so long. You see it, a minute 15 down, and they haven't even started making progress. Now they're on the point.
We'll see what's happening up there as Alex jumps in onto Admiral Raptor. Both of the healers down now for Obey Alliance. Lethal and Senny falling on the back of that. Sheer Cold just looking for trouble, and that's exactly what they're finding. 2 minutes 24 on the clock, and they are definitely master of this payload right now as it rolls out.
Yeah, so far, Sheer Cold, they have an okay start. Not quite the flashy start that Obey Alliance had. It's still a bit down in time bank. We saw that in Junkertown as well. Sheer Cold is fairly able to just almost match that time bank and then just push it back the other way. And 2 minutes 7, not quite that 3-minute time bank they had to fight against last time. So, pretty good spot still, but back down does fall early.
He does fall early, is looking to get Xiao out of commission before he can do another one of those aggressive runarounds. He's not working out for him at this time, but the idea was a very good one. Alex now in trouble. He is actually being pinned between Health and Seni over there. The Doppelstein is out and is at least trying to stall it, but Sheer Cold still on the march, still moving forwards. 3 minutes 59 on the clock. The Far Mercy making sure they earn that bread right now. And at the end of the day, Lethal has no choice but to lay down for a bit.
Yeah, there is still progress being made as well by Sheer Cold. They are getting stalled out a bit more than Obey Alliance is, but so far not in a major way. The exponential difference is still not really visible. And Grathan has the barrage ready. That's the reason why they're still this far. They don't care about the long range Ash. They just want to get 1 or 2 instant kills with the barrage and then keep on going with the next one. Far, of course, receiving a buff. A bit more mobile in the sky, and also a bit more explosive in that ultimate.
Oh, yeah, and that is going to change the game of DPS once again. I'm pretty sure there's the Bob trying to hold it up. Shade with the right idea, trying to hook it over, but has a bit of steering issues, I would say. That is a very, very well-placed Bob, but on the other hand, it is still Sheer Cold pushing it in. Alex making sure that no one even gets close to that payload.
Health denying a lot of point pressure, a lot of point presence, and now it's going to be the Ash and the Mercy trying to get away from that Wrecking Ball. Alex does pressure them in that little corner, and there's no one on point. Someone needs to touch here, otherwise this payload is going to roll in. It's going to be Kenny taking it just in time.
Yes, and he moving it in, but that's the minefield. Alex very low on it. Lethal and Xiao find their targets right there. The minefield makes some noise right there, but Lethal with a double kill, and this time this payload could be halted once again, extremely close to point 2 cap. But this time for the other side, Backbone, the only one still in there, but has to pull away at the end of the day.
It's something that I always wanted to see to finally happen. We saw the Nano Baby in competitive Overwatch. It happened. Nano Baby Divas. Kenny just got the Nano Boost from Khan to sustain being alive on that payload. No one wants to get close to that as Tracer. It's hard to kill a killer sometimes anyways. It's that tiny of a character and so jumpy. And she also does quite a bit of damage to your head. So the Nano Boost just makes that she almost like 2-shots you with headshots if you're Tracer. You don't want to take that risk. Nice stall tactic to just get the Nano Boost on her.
Elf was able to actually get Backbone out. That could potentially be huge, but immediately loses his life to a Grathan. So with a nice pulse bomb onto Revit. Once again, it looks like Obey Alliance want to stay in the driver's seat for now. Alex, speaking of driver's seats, comes in from the back, but sees that Bob needs to pull back there for a bit. Needs to pull back to the rest of Sheer Cold because Lethal is doing his name all on her.
Yeah, Lethal has finally found that value on that Ash. It's under a lot of pressure from Alex a lot of the time, especially. Alex, and maybe even Backbone and Grathan at times, just want to make that life miserable. But so far, Health and Kenny have just been better at pressuring the backline of Sheer Cold. They're not getting as much value. And that extra mobility from the Diva, as opposed to the Roadhog, is really making that difference. The high ground control, there's the constant peel and frontline pressure at the same time. It's really making it work.
This could be it. There's the Nano
there. Target.
Oh yeah, that's true. That's only that was only Senia Admiral Raptor, so no one would use it. But Health and Lethal at this point, without actually being pressured, just come back in and hold this back yet again. Seni, so is coming back there as well. Admiral Raptor still in the backline, still trying to make something happen. But at this time, the barrage comes out. Grathan was practically done with this thing, but look at that. Obey Alliance still holding it up. 15 seconds on the clock. It is looking very, very dire right now for Sheer Cold. The only one still in there. Alex has that minefield out. Gets the double kill. Gets the quadra kill. And is actually pushing it in. What is this? 1 minute and 30 on the clock. And the hamsters are marching.
They thought that was over. They definitely thought that was over, but somehow, some way, Alex rolls in with the minefield and just clears it out. That is more than amazing. That's Alex putting their team on their back and just saying, guys, I'll roll you all up the hill. Just hang on to my grapple. But right now, they're gonna get some momentum off of that. They have some. They don't have any ultimates, but neither does Obey Alliance. And with only the Nano Boost in the bank, this is momentum needs to start going.
Yeah, Obey Alliance basically used everything there because they already thought this would be over right there. But Alex just pulls it back from the brink of the abyss. Now Sheer Cold, though. Sheer Cold have had enough on the back of Alex's success right there, pushing it around that last corner.
They need to hurry, 35 seconds, and if they don't complete it within that time, they'll have at least another map after this, but then it's going to be a 2-2 or a 2-1 still. At least Chao's on the Mei, something that they, of course, learned during their time with Windstrike to do very well, but it's Health going down first.
Yeah, but Chao on the Mei has forgotten that the Mei is not really the Mei that they remember. Beautifully done here by Backbone. He is on that Reaper, and it is just making a triple kill, taking it out, and they are actually completing it against all odds, against whatever we saw for the entirety of this setup. They are making it for the complete, flipping the point, but there's 1 minute and 59 seconds difference. That's a long time in Overwatch.
Yeah, it is honestly not. It's just insane. Alex just getting that play and then they just roll on to third. That is very jarring. If you're Obey Alliance, you're like, sure, you still have 2 minutes more than Obey Alliance had, but we saw what happened on Junkertown. We saw how they just pushed it all the way to halfway through third with only like 2 minutes on the clock. Now they have a minute. So by that logic, they should not push it as far, but we'll see. I mean, if there's any team that can, like Sheer Cold has been able to adapt fairly well to the next round so far, and Obey Alliance have been adapting throughout the series. Their adapt process is a bit longer. It's been very good, but it's taking them a bit longer every now and then. So we'll see if they can still clear out this map and take us to a map 5. But right now, all they really want to do is just full hold this, so they have a draw potential and even the win condition very clearly put out for them.
Well, they do have all the tools in their toolbox to make that happen. On the other side, with Grathan and Backbone, that is still a DPS difference. I'm sorry, Lethal and Chao, you have been playing a beautiful game, but Grathan and Backbone just have been, well, I'm not going to say schooling you, but they have just been structurally better.
Already that first kill, the Health again on that Winston on the defense, not quite finding any value there. Now it's going to be up to Kenny and the crew to really keep this point alive. Grathan just walking forward, putting out the dynamite dominance.
That's right, getting a lot of nice headshots onto Senny as well, who has to pull back on that sideline, and it is beautiful to see. Now Sheer Cold moving it forward. In the back though is Sao, is Health, and they're just trying to make something happen as Shade comes in and finishes the job for them. Grathan still looking for more targets, looking for something up on that high ground, and is not able to get Senny out of that beautiful evasion on there, but being exposed very well. Alex finds Admiral Raptor. Backbone, the capture is going, and the pulse bomb is alive, so this could actually just be all the way in. That's the second take. No one from Obey even around to contest that. Backbone making sure that no one will be by pressuring Lethal. The overtime wick is running, but so is the payload.
Payload unlocked, and now how far can they get in overtime? No Sombra this time around to push people off the cart. No nano boosted whole hog. Health has got to do it without, but they will have a Bob, a Pulse Bomb, a Graviton, a Nano Boost. Plenty going to be online for Obey Alliance to try and stop this, but the same can be said for Sheer Cold to keep it alive. Khan goes down early, will probably be rezzed, but still, it's a res you won't have.
It's a rest that's no longer on the menu, boys. That's right, Backbone very low there for a second. The Bob is coming out, and this time Obey Alliance in a very good position to put a lot of pressure onto that card. Maybe even finish this out. We already see Health jumping in there. So Aseni Khan goes down. Grathan finds another target right there, and is not done looking for it. Shade onto Health. Shade with a double kill. Lethal able to take Backbone out, and so is Joe with a bit of a pulse bomb, but Grathan comes in from the side. He is able to use that dynamite to full setup. Sheer Cold still in the running, still in the race, the overtime still running, and so is that payload. That was impressively played by Sheer Cold right there.
Oh, I saw Grathan's POV there. Just throws dynamite casually up to Khan, lights it up, and then just snaps from target to target. It's so clean that Grathan's crosshair moves around. It's very nice to see. And right now, the Valkyrie is out, but there's nothing really much else. Health is at least making sure that high ground is controlled. Everyone is on the bridge here, but are they going to get second? That's the question. Deep dive.
He is diving in, but that's the whole hog already making a lot of space. Shade does not want anyone near his Ferrari. Grathan fires the bomb out. That's a double kill. Admiral and Sao already going down right there. And we do see that Sheer Cold are not going to let anyone stand in their way. Point 2 has been capped. Overtime still running. Backbone very, very deep in enemy territory. Is making sure that Seni has no time to set up. And Sheer Cold coming around this chicane towards that final little bit. Will they make the full, though?
Oh, and now you're going to still be thinking back about that play of Alex on their first attack. Now they got the graph ready. Lethal does have a Bob. They have a Nano Boost too, but they are so far for 1 minute. This is not the distance you wanted to stop them at.
And that was a great graph from Alex, just pulling it in there, stopping the Bob, stopping a lot of the forward movement that Obey Alliance actually need in order to get their house back on track. Health is on that Reinhardt. We have seen him being melted down on Reinhardt twice now. Once on the offense, once on the defense. So I'm not entirely sure whether or not that will help. The grab is there. So is the bomb. Chow gets Alex, and so does Shade. Overtime, we're going down. At the end of the day, Obey stopped them, but it took them a long time and a big investment to do so.
It takes you almost an entire map of progress to stop a team that has 1 minute on the clock. And that is where Obey Alliance is just maybe lacking a little bit of that structure, a little bit of that, you know, mental fortitude as a team. Is still a bit new. And we're looking at Sheer Cold here. You get so far. You have to hold them for 3 minutes. Yes, 3 minutes is a lot of time, but 3 minutes in itself might not even be enough to get to that door in the first place and then into third. So if you stop them at any point on the first point in streets somewhere, you're likely going to force them into overtime in the first place, and then you'll just be even. Both teams, the time banks, they barely even matter at this point.
No, that is right. And it does look like neither of those teams are going to fully surprise us with something. Lethal and Chow once again back on the Sombra Tracer combination is about the only change, combined with Admiral Raptor and the Lucio. Maybe they're just going to try and go extremely deep.
Well, no Grathan Farah anymore. I think they definitely stopped running that now. Grathan is just going to be on that Ashe. Just done a lot of work on that in this series so far. Yes, the Farah was good. So far, the Ashe has just been a bit better. It's been a bit better.
Yes.
It's been consistently better. I think in the right positions, the Farah will still work. And it can throw teams off of kilter a little bit. But so far, the Ashe is the consistent, reliable choice.
That's right, and Grathan is already proving that point for you, making sure that a lot of pod damage is already being fired onto Obey Alliance. They're moving in very deep. Lethal has to pull back, was burning there for a second. Up on top is Health, very low. That is Admiral Raptor already going down, even though Health finds Lusa on the sideline. Backbone, he goes low, needs to pull back for a little bit, was able to still get that get that recall there. Health with a nice double kill though. And now
you tried.
there's the coalescence. Obey Alliance just firing it in. The laser is coming and no one is the better for it except for Obey Alliance, who are now capping the point.
And that's just how you see that these are actual teams that are playing. Instead of in my quick play games, when the Mercy reses in front of my team and they just let her res, Obey Alliance punishes it. Just throw the coalescence, I'll jump on it. Refit doesn't get that off. No, but they're playing something very different than what they were before. We've seen how much they want to dive on that backline of Grathan and Refit and Lucer, and now the entire team can do that. They don't need to peel for Khan. Khan goes with them on that Moira. Same for Raptor on the Lucio. Kenny is so good with that Matrix. Just eats Backbone's pulse bomb, and this payload's gonna start rolling.
That's a second casual eat from Seni. We saw one early on the control point as well. And it's just turning around and nomming it up. That is just beautiful to see. Health once again up on that high ground. There is a hack coming out onto Alex, who almost goes down. But at the end of the day, it is Sao too deep yet again, losing to Backbone in the Tracer versus Tracer battle. Health jumping back up on there, but Khan is down as well. So right now, looking good for Sheer Cold, but there's still a minute on the clock and then some overtime if they're not lucky enough.
Yeah, so far it is, I mean, they still have that 50 seconds, but this is where the difference comes in right with the one between 3 minutes. Like, if they would have lost here, then they would have just been over because overtime would have already been ticking, but that's not the case here. Looks like we're getting an invite to a next game. We're not ready yet. Just gonna finish this one up first. Lethal and Chow just trying to find those hacks, trying to find that damage. The EMP is almost ready. Ref it under pressure.
Refit under pressure. EMP comes out and finds a good number of targets. That is 3-4 people actually being set up. Good sound barrier coming out from Admiral Raptor there as well. And now it is up to Backbone and Grathen to try and stabilize the situation. And they're good on the way to actually do that. Finally, Lethal jumps down onto Grathen. Backbone still there though. Finds Seni. And now it is up to Obey Alliance's, well, Sombra and Lucio to push this in. But we've seen crazier things in this series. The overtime finally running.
And overtime underway, and so far, Obey Alliance has not really... I mean, they've been stopped a little bit, but they're looking pretty good. They've still got some ultimates to work with. Backbone, though, goes on the Reaper. We've seen how devastating that can be, but the self-destruct is going to be more devastating than that.
That is right. Grathen fires that Bob in as well. So while that is standing in behind you, you need to be careful. However, that being said, the overtime week running, point 2 being capped, and now we are getting to the meat of the matter. Both of these teams had the overtime. Both of these teams have come at least this far, and now we will see whether or not we go to a map 5 or whether or not we will call it a day right here, right now.
Lethal wants this EMP. They're so close to it as well, and if they get it, that will be a huge boon. But Backbone on that Reaper, just vanilla can do so much damage versus this tank line. There you go, though. Q is pressed.
That's a big EMP. The entire tank line is just standing back, but Shade and Alex both get healed out. No, Alex actually bites the bullet at the end of the day. Admiral Raptor was able to circle around that. Shade now with that whole hawk trying to go for the H9 right there. The overtime week still running. The coalescences as well, because Khan and Health are still in there. They're very low on health, and now they're very, very low on everything else. Sheer cold. Take it out there. What is this crazy series? Man of Class, please explain to me what just happened.
That EMP was huge, but they needed that immediate follow-up on it. They needed to kill Shade, Alex, and like 1 or 2 others. They needed to get a few kills, and they got maybe 1 or 2 after a solid 6 seconds when the EMP is almost done again. That's not enough. You need more value out of that, and that swap to the Reaper of Backbone just... it deters so much, because while they cannot Wraith form or teleport anymore when you do that, they still have a lot of damage from their shotguns that doesn't want to make you come close. So Health can't charge a Primal Rage that quickly. Kenny has to be careful with that Diva. It just all blows up. And I mean, Obey Alliance, they had a great series, don't get me wrong, but Sheer Cold had more of that heads up, adaptability that just really helped them out. They make a few small swaps, mostly the DPS department, that just really helped out. And Obey Alliance, they didn't swap up as much, but they mostly tried to execute in a different way. They didn't really... I think they really have some work to go with, like how they play as a team. I think the compositions don't necessarily work. I think Health on the Winston is not necessarily a bad pick. And then Kenny on the Diva, or on the Zarya, on the Sigma, whatever you want to pull them on. But it's all about working a little bit more as a team to have that DPS click with it, have the supports click with it, and that's a bit of work that still has to be done. But that's on Obey Alliance's side. Sheer Cold looking really good so far, and of course they are still a team that's, you know, you have to worry about, especially in trials when those upper echelon Contenders teams aren't there. Then Sheer Cold just looks all of a sudden like the best team out there. But we'll see what they do in the next days. We're going to throw it to a little bit of a break now, Ollie, because what are we going to have after?
Yeah, that's right. We are going to give us a couple of minutes of rest, because after that, we are going to see an epic clash between VASTA, who have been once again here to entertain us, and they will take on the Ultimates, another one of the strong teams that should be familiar to all of you. So stay right here, stay tuned. We will be back in just a couple of minutes.
With an interview with Grathen. Interview with Grathen, Ollie. It's going to happen. We're going to talk to Grathen.
That's true. We're going to have an interview with Grathen first, and then we're going up to the next one. That's definitely right. So let's wait for the Widowmaker, the Widow Master, to impart some wisdom on us when we return in just a couple of seconds. And we are live, we are back, and we have a guest. Yes, it is no one else than Grathen. That was an amazing game. Welcome, Grathen. First question to you. How did you feel in that last map when things just really went to the wire for you guys?
It was very hectic. We kept our cool though. We're playing a lot more confident lately, so yeah, we were pretty confident that whole map. Some very scary moments though, like second when Alex clutched with the mines.
Oh yeah.
But overall, we were pretty confident that we could keep our cool to the whole thing.
Yeah,
I
think someone's gonna make a very epic montage of, you know, some sort of last minute save with Alex rolling with the mines, like no.
Yeah.
So there's an anime montage there. I can feel it. But yeah, I mean, we felt like at some point Obey Alliance was like, you know what? Let's just keep jumping on that Mercy and that Ashe. I think that's a good plan. Let's keep doing that. Was that at all how you felt about it?
They seemed to just try and take any opportunity they could. I don't know if they were necessarily focusing on mid and rapids. Like, we play split usually, so I think their main plan was just to dive our backline, dive looser, and if I'm out of position, maybe they can try and go me then, but I felt pretty free this game. I thought I could get a lot done.
Okay, but it's good to know that if that was their plan, at least according to you, it sort of failed. So you of course you came out of Contenders, had to go into the new meta. Had you already been scrimming a little bit on this patch, or like anticipating something like this, or were you really just in the last few days properly scrimming it?
We haven't had a ton of scrim time, but I think we've had enough to get a fair enough grasp on the meta and understand the comps that we're going to be playing. So we're pretty confident in what we're playing right now. Not 100% sure on a few things, like, you know, we can change maybe a few Pharah comps here and there, but other than that, like, we've done our homework on it. We think we know what we're doing.
That's fantastic. Quick question on the personal note: do you like the meta?
It's weird. It's really weird. I'm pretty free on Ashe in this meta though. Like, if the meta is end up going to be like a Hog Zarya meta or something like that, the Ashe is like pretty free, so it's kind of fun in that sense that you can kind of do your own thing and get kills and carry like that. But it's messy. It's really messy. So I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, some people really like that, you know, saying, oh, everything is all over the place. On a personal note, Pharah, does she feel better now, or how do you feel about it?
Her jets feel really weird. They're I don't know. It's really hard to like stay airborne a lot, and it feels it's just strange. I don't know. I'm not a huge fan of it. A lot of people I hear are complaining about it.
Okay.
All right, that means more Ashe from you, I might imagine, Grathen. Well, we don't really have a lot of time with you, I am afraid, because the next game, the Ultimates vs. VASTA Gaming, is about to start in just a couple of seconds. So from us on our side, thank you so much for being with us. Good luck in the rest of the trial series, and we will hope to speak to you soon.
Thank you, Grathen, I suppose. Yeah.
Thank you guys. Have a good one.
Have a good one.
Right, fantastic. Good. With Grathen out of the way, so to speak, we've already said it. The Ultimates and VASTA Gaming are rearing to go. And I know we spoke about this off camera for just a second, that it is especially VASTA Gaming that seem to have a little bit of an issue coming into this one yet again, because they keep getting their DPS stalling. To tell us more about that is Man of Class.
Look, but that's not the only thing. Like, yes, they keep getting their DPS stolen right now. They're running with actually with Maimon and Kage. They used to have Facility, then they got to Anchor Titans, then they got Sauna for a little bit, then they keep jumping all over the place. They don't really, I mean, I'm not saying they don't know what they want. In all honesty, those players are just getting like picked up by other teams that are supposedly better or have like different advantages to them or not. But on the other side, on the Ultimates as well, now they're all of a sudden coming in with new players, players that were on other teams that are now coming back in. You know, Brussen now is now on the Ultimates. They have their tank line of Henningsen and Brussen, which is supposedly, Henningsen was on that same team with Chow last year with HSL that just bombed through the entire contender season.
Yeah.
And then Blizzard, of course, ex Overwatch League, ex Netherlands World Cup, where they got like 6th place or something, was ridiculous. And then with Foki and Urki on the DPS, that also names that we've been seeing around, Chucky Milk, Sir Majed. It's a good, solid unit. And Vasta Gaming, while they have their own solid unit, especially the tank line, Rocket and Nipahawk, that we always keep on talking about because they're just so good together, they do have to worry about what they're running into today. So both teams have had some swap ups. Both teams have some changes. But the Ultimates, just like Sheer Golden Bay Alliance, only just came off of the Contenders week. Haven't had as much time to practice with this. And Vasta, since the last Trials week, have just been playing on the live patch. Sometimes maybe on the tournament client with other teams. But they've just been able to keep on practicing with this new meta. They might be way more practiced.
Yeah, and I mean, the other thing there is one big upside for Vasta Gaming, of course, is Kassar is not there. Kassar plays, of course, an absolute monster, will be sorely missed on the roster of the Ultimates as they are getting ready to go into the match in just a second. So I'm looking forward to seeing how, especially this DPS setup, will play out in the course of this series.
100%. And of course, Vasta Gamer starting on Nepal, then going to Junkertown and Temple of Anubis, maybe Eichenwalde and Ilios if we need it, but it's a first of 3. It can be over after 3 maps, can be over after 4 maps, can be over after 7 maps even. It's all about how the teams play, how many draws they manage to force between the two of them. And so far, all we know is that we're going to see Nepal first, Junkertown, and then Anubis, and then we'll see what happens after. So, if the production's ready, if the teams are ready, gonna get into it and get some nice games going between Vasta Gaming and the Ultimates.
Yes, we are getting into it. I'm already getting into it. I'm really having high hopes for this series, to be perfectly honest, because we know both of these teams. We know that both of these teams have the absolute, they have the potential to go all the way, both of them. The Ultimates may be a bit more than Vasta Gaming, just looking at the track record, of course, and looking at the individual track record. But at the end of the day, both of these teams are excellent and have been playing a lot. And like you said, Vasta Gaming actually coming in with an advantage here.
Yeah, they have the advantage in terms of meta practice, but of course meta practice doesn't always mean everything, especially when you keep having to change up your team. But so the same goes for the Ultimates. Past results are no guarantee for the future, and they are very closely matched. They both came up from the OD season last time around, then got up to Trials. Vasta didn't make it, the Ultimates did, and there was not much between the two teams before. And with a new patch, with some new members, new players, it is really anyone's guess what's truly going to happen. But that's what makes this so exciting. We're back in Trials. And this game, while it matters, might not be the decider of whether they both go through the Contenders or not. Like, there's a big possibility that both of them still make it somehow. We will, however, start here on Nepal Sanctum this time around. I am looking forward to it, and I'm mostly looking forward to if either of the teams goes for that Lucio. Because while the Lucio can get those environmentals and is very mobile around the map in general, you do miss out on some of that extra damage potential, some of that utility that an Ana or a Mercy can bring you. And the damage boosts have seemingly been very important, especially if you pair them with DPS like Ashe, like Widowmaker, even so to a degree Tracer that can just keep getting the damage boost, and the Roadhog as well. Tanks can even be damage boosted. So what the teams decide to do, how they decide to run out the gates, what comps they're running can be very telling of what they're going to do in the rest of the series. And so far there are already some differences, but we're going to see how that plays out after their doors open and when they've had their first fight.
No, that's right, and I do like Sir Majed's pick right there. I like that Zenyatta, especially on this first on this part of the point, because you have the opportunity to keep your enemy at a distance and basically play it like the, well, more or less sniper that the Zenyatta can be in the right hands. That plus that, of course, Discord Orb can make all the difference in the world. Now already, Foki has to pull back a little bit, and so does the entirety of the Ultimates being pushed back into that room here for a little bit. A lot of damage flying around. Henningsen actually getting caught out. Kage and Nipahawk finding their value, finding their targets, and that just means that the Ultimates will not be able to take it away from Vasta as they go for the first cap for real estate here.
The bubbly fire hose composition. It's just you have Moira that just and Lucio that just speed them with a magnitude of speed into your team. Then you have the Moira just keeps them up with that shower of healing, and they just don't have a backline. It's just one big wave that just combines with a double bubble to the bubbly fire hose.
That's right. Now Fuki fights Kage, making sure that a little bit of that fire hose is maybe not as effective as it could be. Samajit, nice anti-nade to clear out Rocket. And now the ultimate's coming hot out of the gates. Fuki with a nice shot on MVP. And the capture could be flipping anytime soon. We should not be very much surprised if the ultimates can take it right there, because VASTA are still standing at the entrance to the arena.
Yeah, they are, but they do have some tools to work with, especially Maimon getting close to that EMP can be instrumental together with that Graviton from Nipahog. And of course, they do have that percent increase. They're a little bit up, so if they flip it back, they might even get that advantage still.
Kage going very aggressive. Has that pulse bomb. There's the coalescence coming out. That backline needs to pull back a whole lot as MVP and Abs fight their target. The Ana Samajit unable to get out of that. Actually swapped away from that Zenyatta after the first push, and I think that's a valid thing to do. Nipahawk ready with that Graviton surge, so as soon as they flip it, they can actually just take the battle all the way over to the ultimate.
Yeah, the biggest deal about this, I've said it before, there isn't really a backline or a front line on the side of VASTA here. They're completely fighting on a line. That's all it is. And everything on the other side of the ultimates is geared towards stopping a dive from coming in. You have Fuki with the flash, Shoki Milk with the stun, Henningsen with the hook, the bubbles. It's all geared towards, okay, if they dive, we have some tools to negate it. But it's not enough.
EMP was absolutely instrumental in opening those doors. Kage and Wamon are able to make something happen with the help of Nipahawk once again. But Henningsen fires in the whole hawk, gets Rocket out, gets Nipahawk out. No more frontline coming out for VASTA, and the ultimates flipping the point after 82% has been ticked over. So while it was last fight territory, now with the flip, this is extending the payload for a long way.
Remember when Henningsen was a main tank player? You know, played Orisa, played Reinhardt, maybe some Winston, and now they're on the Roadhog, Ollie. It's changed so much.
I hate this.
No, you don't. It's amazing. You know, players are forced to expand their hero pools. Why not? You know, don't play the same two things all the time, and that's what's great about this meta. Right now, though, you're gonna look at the ultimates. It's really only the DPS that have anything to go with. Urki needs to hit a good pulse bomb, and then that high noon is all for zoning.
That's right, Abs very low already. Pulse bomb should be coming in. Actually drops it on the floor there. Is trying to, of course, stop that coalescence from happening. Now Abs fires in with the laser being done and is able to keep the entirety of VASTA alive for such a long time. The only one going down there is Rocket as Spooky comes in from the sideline. Wymone trying to make something happen. The capture is there. The ultimate once again in control. 99 versus 73. And this is going to be very interesting because the flips have been so incredibly fast, Classy.
Oh, Nipahog used the boosters already, gets hooked in by Henningsen. That's not what you want to see happen to you as a diva. Oh, he just misses the hook on MVP. I mean, they still get the kill, but you missed the hook there? Really?
Yeah, I think it just hit the curb.
Main tank player, by the way. No, it's great. Henningsen so far doing a great job on Brussen, just holding them off. No one's going to be able to touch her, I don't think. No, it will probably be like the Lucio or something. No, the Sombra, actually. Maimon, of course, he will do get past that quickly, but this is a very rushed fight.
Oh, there's a very big EMP. And the sound barrier is coming in there to support it as well. Pressed into a corner. The ultimate seem to be in a bit of a pickle as it's a nice pulse bomb coming up onto Henningsen. There's the high noon, finds Nipahawk. Fuki follows it up with a kill onto Kage. Still up on that high ground, is being helped there by Chalky Milk. Chalky Milk just tanking it out right now versus MVP. Not really pressured a lot. Rocket being stunned mid-air. And that is it. The objective goes to the ultimate. And that was a very, very close match, and it was happening on all parts of this map.
That high noon forced so much out of VASTA there. They were all caught in that little room, not wanting the overtime to tick down, and then Foki just stands there on the high ground between the pillars. Like, you want to come out of that room? Well, I'm right here. right here waiting for you with my dead eye. And it got Nipahog out of the mech, and then they just fell into the cliff because they tried to like, defense matrix it, and then everything just followed up from there. The overtime ticked down too quickly, and it was never enough for VASTA to keep on there and keep the kills going. They just kept on trading. But now going on the shrine here, there's not much changing between these teams. They keep on the same thing. The real change here is that Abs is now going to be on that Ana instead of that Moira. That's a big change there. And Urki will actually go to the pharmacy. Other than that, team's pretty much the same. But that will change a lot of the dynamic of how the healing is going to be distributed.
Well, not only that, I mean, looking at the DPS lineup in Kage and Waimon, they will have some issues dealing with that Far Mercy just on the basis of the damage drop off on the range right there. Vasta, very deep in it, but it is right now the ultimates being going for the first cap. If Vasta aren't careful, they are now capping it out though. The ultimates tried to go for a bit of a cheeky back cap, but weren't able to fully execute that at the end of the day. Now Brusson pushing in with the help of Henningsen, and they are just trying to make sure that both their front line and their sides are fully protected. Waimon just actually distracting from the ticking control point for a while there.
Yeah, so far, great start here for Vasta. Of course, they don't have to win this fight. They just have to not lose the point. And they keep staggering. It's okay. As long as they keep the objective going. And so far, they're doing a good job. Even getting Choki Miggins from a jet. That's no healers.
Wow, Rocket and Kage just make sure that the healers are not an option for the ultimates, and Vasta thereby back in the fight. Even though the flip just came, it's already 32%. Vasta Gaming have stalled out their first cap for a longer time than frankly they were entitled to do. That is the barrage on the back of that. Is actually countering that EMP. It looked very good, but Urki was far away enough and then sees an opening and just can't resist. Oh!
Yeah, amazingly done. Just Urki was there just out of EMP range, just drops down with the barrage afterwards, just cleans right up. Maimon now going over to that Echo to get a bit more air battle going on with MVP on the Mercy. So yeah, Echo versus Pharah. Let's see who gets more value, right?
We'll see what's going to happen. Henningsen had the nano, but immediately goes bye-bye on the sleepy sleep. Almost gets pushed off there. Is able to stabilize just on the edge. And that sounds like alcoholism in its purest form. No, I'm just messing. Henningsen looking for a hook there. Tries to go for Maimon and is actually just missing it just a little bit. Now the attack coming back in from Vasta Gaming. Kage with a nice pulse bomb onto Brusson. Henningsen goes down there as well. And Vasta just going incredibly hard on the attack. Even though Maimon goes down to a nice pulse bomb, Fuki was able to actually stuck him in the sky.
Yeah, Surma Jet fell with that as well. This fight might not actually be over with so many heroes still around. That res gets countered though, and Maimon, oh, this goes down again. I was gonna say just got res, so they're actually up in numbers. But this is once again, you know, we saw in the last series, teams just don't really stop fighting a lot of the time because they don't have to. There's so much mobility, damage. There's a lot going on where the trades just happen. There's not longer that 6v6 where you just take out 6 of the other team and you don't lose anything. You will lose players most of the time.
That's right. It is not very forgiving when it comes to you making something like a bit of a movement mistake. And like you said, it is no longer a pick on a 6v6 that will change the thing. It is now just trading it out and trying to extend the time on point for as long as you can while needing to dish out enough damage. And that's exactly what Maimon is trying right now. The barrage is ready for Urki yet again. Fires it in on the sideline. Actually takes the enemy Diva for a loop. Nipahog actually just weaved to the left and then he just changes this direction to the right. That was beautiful.
The double kill with one rocket, you gotta like that if you're Urki. But once again, this fight, they both lost to quite a few players. The respawns are gonna come back in earlier from Vasta, I think. That might actually be a quick re-engage. No. It's there's actually a hard reset happening. This is the first time we see a hard reset, I think, in this entire map so far.
Yeah, that's right, and it might actually just work in the advantage of the ultimates. Even though Vasta was in control of this point for so long, the equalizer has just been made. This means lost fight territory for both teams. The ultimates are flying out, especially for the support of the ultimates at this point here, and it is firing in Henningsen with that whole hog, and we do see that Vasta does not really have enough players in order to make anything happen. Abs just trying to extend it, goes in with that coalescence and tries to make something happen, just tries to scare them with the laser rocket coming in on the sideline, has that ball up and running, and now just goes for the spin to win versus Henningsen. He is not phased, gets spooked back and is unable to kill him, but that is a lot of damage that Henningsen can do to the hamster right there. The overtime week still running. Vasta this time in control of point for a bit. Abs going down, so is Kage at this point. Overtime week still running, 3 versus 2 on that point. The ultimates make sure that something is happening. There's a Diva Bomb flying in, trying to extend it for a little bit. Nipper Hawk coming back in the mech immediately gets forced out of his own can of worms there. And that's it. The Ultimates take the first map and take control of the first game here.
Yeah, the Ultimates so far looking very strong. Of course, Vasta not looking weak by any means. It's very much a repeat of what we saw last series, where one of the teams goes with that Roadhog, goes with the Zarya, goes with, you know, the more static tank line, with that Pharah on Shrine, with the you know, just that whole combination of what they were doing. Did play the McCree and the Brigitte instead of that Ashe and that Mercy onto that Sanctum point, but the style is very different. It's very similar. And then we see Vasta, who goes more for that Winston Diva, that Winston Sigma, that Winston Wrecking Ball approach that we've seen Obey Alliance do. So there seems to be disagreement between a lot of these teams on like what the actual meta is, what we do want to run, what we like to run. But from what we see from both teams results-wise, it does seem that it might actually not come down to the composition that you play, but rather which composition you like more and then how you execute it. So yeah, I mean, Vasta keep playing that more dive style. We saw Obey Alliance do it to great effect, and the Ultimates stick to what you know, stick to what you've been doing with the Roadhog, with the Zarya, with the, you know, the more static type of compositions a lot of the time versus that more divey aggressive style.
And of course, the incredible Far Mercy. You have to put a bit of a note on that. Erky, clean Pharah right there. I do not know if Erky is a specialist on that setup or whether or not they have some
they have some experience.
Experience and variety in there. But that being said, that was a clean Pharah. One for the books, to be honest. So next map going in should be Junkertown, is that correct?
Junkertown. Indeed, yes. We're going to Australia, back to the Outback, and of course, both these teams have played this map plenty of times before. The Ultimates only had to do it in actual Contenders not too long ago, so they're going to be ready. But it was a different meta, different patch, so we'll see if they're actually going to be ready for the same type of Junkertown this time around. At least the snipers will still be there. I'm doubting that neither of these teams pulls that out. And then, I mean, the question is who is going to be on what, because Erky and Foki have kind of been swapping around who plays the hit scan heroes. Erky was on the Tracer, where Foki was on the McCree. Then Foki goes on the Tracer, and Erky goes on the Pharah. You gotta feel like Foki should be more of that hit scan player. Erky's more that flex player in that situation, where the sort of the same with Kage and Maimon. Like Kage is like the hit scan, and then Maimon is more of the flex DPS, so to speak. But you do see that DPS actually have to swap around a lot more in what they usually would play. It's not really that 1 or 2 heroes. It's at least 3 at this point. And it's cool to see.
It is cool. It is cool to see. Like you said, the meta does force you to pick it up a little bit more, especially on the DPS side, I feel. And switch it a little bit. But I didn't say I hate the meta for nothing. As a main tank player, this meta is brutal. It is absolutely, like I said, unforgiving. There's things from all sides. The heroes that you know do not work as you are experienced in them working, whichever one of the main tanks you actually play, except for maybe the Wrecking Ball. Wrecking Ball still, number 1 main tank in my book.
It's always doubtful whether it's a main and off tank, right? There's still a debate, so let's just he's often played as an off tank, but it's interesting you bring that up, right? Like, main tanks sort of hate playing in this meta, and a lot of that is about Overwatch for so long has been about having that barrier, having that shield. Dive was the first composition that sort of moved away from that, where you weren't relying on the shield to do something. You just used a bubble every now and then, and like a matrix to still have some damage mitigation. And now that barriers are so weak, and the heroes that are using the barriers aren't able to really do anything unless they're standing behind their barrier or really in your face, you get such a different mechanic of how you do damage, how you mitigate damage, how you play around with damage itself. And because there's not a lot of barriers and they can break that easily, you choose damage over protection a lot of the time. That's why you see Zarya, you see Roadhog, because Roadhog used to be that hero where, you pick him, you're just feeding. Because he's a large target, doesn't really do that much, there's too many barriers in the way for the hook to land, so why would you pick Roadhog? But now, when the barriers are gone, he does a lot of damage, the hooks can hit, he sustains a lot of damage, so it's far more viable, and that's why these main tank players think, I can still play Reinhardt. I mean, you can. Don't get me wrong, you can still play Reinhardt if you want to, but there's a reason why these teams don't, and that is the reason. It's about mitigation versus damage mitigation versus doing damage, and the trade-off of playing a barrier hero is currently just not worth it to a lot of teams.
That's an interesting point to take. I think, of course, that will play a role, but the way that the DPS has evolved in the last couple of weeks, actually, makes it so that the fight itself is so dispersed, is so all over the place, it is so scattered that playing, the classic I am in front main tank doesn't make any sense on most of those heroes, like I said, which means that Wrecking Ball is still the greatest main tank in the history of main tank.
It really is, isn't it? Well, we're gonna see this defense come out right now with a it looks like a Sigma and a Roadhog. Of course, double sniper with it, Urki and Foki on that one, Shocky Milk and Shermajet on the Mercy and the on the other side, it's Orisa. There's a main tank on the field, Ollie.
There is, but it's an Orisa, so we will see whether or not they will lack the mobility to actually take the fight to the enemy. That being said, the payload, of course, forces a certain need to play this 1v1. Nice hold over there. Gives Maimon actually a fighting chance, and that could have gone very, very badly for either of these Hanzos here. Maimon trying to make something happen on the side with a bit of a side arrow. Fuki, nice shot onto Rocket, but Rocket is just getting pocketed out. Now Fuki under pressure from Maimon, but Maimon at the end of the day just losing it to just a lot of pot shots from both Fuki and the backup that they have. This could just actually... Oh! That was a nice corner hook. Did you see that? That was beautiful.
Yeah, it was very good. Of course, they had the Mercy. They knew they were tagged. Both Hawks go down here, and Maimon finally cut out on that flank. Both Widowmaker and Hanzo consistently keeping an eye on that. That means that Kage is a lot freer, though. They get more space to work with.
We'll see what's happening right away. 2 minutes and 40 on the clock. And right now, pushing forward are VASTA, but it is going slowly. Maybe a bit too slow. We will see.
I mean, as long as you don't really handedly lose a fight, at least the ultimate battle is not going completely in favor of the other team. There is a flank going on right now with that Sigma of Brussen. And Brussen, of course, can do work with that when Henningsen gets distracted.
Henningsen versus Nipperhog, and Henningsen actually has the upside of that because the whole hog is there, because of the nano from Sir Majet, and Henningsen is just clearing it out. Fuki and Urki have all the space suddenly just to get that backline down, and that is just the way you want to play it on that Roadhog. Big damage sponge there.
Honestly, what goes wrong with that fight is like the rule number one of Junkertown is you got to clear out the flanks. And they didn't clear out Brussen and Urki. I think it was Urki and maybe it was Jockey Milk that was just behind them. And then they have looked at two directions at once, and they just aren't able to deal with both the Roadhog and the Sigma at the same time.
That's right, Nipperhog finds Majek on the sideline. That is beautifully done, but Fuki immediately gets that Orisa off the plate. Brussen is in a bit of trouble this time, coming up the whole hog from Nipperhog, but immediately gets stopped. Fuki with a beautiful shot here. 1 minute and 20 on the clock. This payload is just not moving, and the ultimate, like you said, have that flank, control that flank, and are just able to stop whatever is coming straight at them.
Yeah, whether it's Urki in the alley's flank, whether it's Brussen or Fuki on the cliff flank, there's always someone there. And right now, it is really the difference in every department. It's really that teamwork that's pulling it up, and that's surprising with how long these teams have actually been playing together. These players. So Maymon just gets taken out again. Henningsen has it under control.
Henningsen has it under control. Maymon is just not well in the ability to make something happen on that, and Henningsen is just so supported. You do see the way that it is that the entirety of the ultimates, they are spread out over the entirety of the field, but still, whenever there is something peaking, it looks like 3 of them just appear out of nothing. There we go, Danger Noodles coming out. There it is, the Dragon Strike. It is clearly just there to divide VASTA Gaming from each other, and then Henningsen and Sir Majid are able to reap the rewards of that.
Yeah, so far, it's the ultimates all the way. VASTA getting nothing done. This will be a monumental hole if they're able to do it themselves, but we just saw the ultimates do it. See if VASTA can reciprocate when they have to swap sides here, because 78.34 meters is where that payload ends.
That is not the distance I imagined this to be at the start
right?
of the game. The Ultimate's definitely in control of this engagement, and that must be more than just a positioning. What are the key points here?
I mean, so we're talking about positioning in terms of the flank needs to be cleared, right? But that has to do with the way you coordinate that as a team. If you as a team are able to coordinate those flanks, coordinate different positions being attacked and being dealt with at the same time, then you will do well in this meta. And so far, VASTA has really seemed like a team, or played like a team, that wants to stick together, to do things together, do things as a unit in the same location, or roughly the same location. And you talked about it before, where because of the DPS, because of the tanks, because of everything about this current balance patch, it's so hard to actually fight in the same location. You have to spread out. It just the fights are just spread out. And so far, the tanks of Henningsen and Brussen have been able to deal with those flanks, deal with not fighting together at the same location all the time much better in terms of either communication, rotation, and just in general, maybe mechanics even. It's just it's very visible that the experience that the players on the Ultimates have is paying into their dividends.
Yeah, it's the experience, the individual experience that counts, especially when the engagements are more or less individual, at least when they were on the defensive side. Now, though, they have to press the advantage for themselves. Will they be able to? Nice right click by Sir Majid. Immediately gets Maymon into a bit of an issue. Side arrow reveals Rocket for a second there, and this payload is moving. It does look like VASTA are going to wait around this building and try to do something similar, but Fuki already gets MVP, and that's a lot of healing immediately off the board. The Ultimates have a good chance to actually just push it in. Nice shot. Fuki in a duel versus Kage. Kage already half HP, needs to get healed up, and he's actually coming out on top. Beautiful shot by Kage onto Fuki right there, and it is looking good for VASTA in this first engagement. But there's 3 minutes to go, and that payload only has a couple of more meters.
How often have we seen, though, that teams both just go on Junkertown first and neither of them caps that checkpoint? I mean, it's a possibility we have to take seriously. And Brussen is now on the Orisa, which is not a hero that, you know, he's generally known for. So let's see if that pays out.
We will see whether or not it will. Urki and Fuki fight the targets. Kage and Maymon, both of them down. Both of them actually shooting their mirror, by the way. That's beautiful to see. Now Fuki looking for more targets. Rocket goes down at the end of the day as Sir Majid was there to close out after a great shot on Fuki's side. Nipperhawk on that Sigma, and we know Nipperhawk is a great Sigma, but is just not able to clear off enough flanks. Nice shot from Fuki yet again. This should be the cap. The Tracer will not be able to touch it, and that's 2-0 to the Ultimates.
It's just been the outplaying right now of the Ultimates. They're just doing a better job in almost any department, whether it's the DPS, the tanks, even the supports to a degree. And that, I mean, it makes sense, right? When the Ultimates were the Contenders team, VASTA still has to get to Contenders in the first place.
Yeah.
So that level of where the teams have gone recently is definitely telling as to, you know, where the power level should be. And the upgrades that the Ultimates have made in terms of, you know, the new players that they've got on, with especially, you know, Brussen coming in, we keep saying it, it's just a player with so much skill and experience so far that it's hard to really put anything in on the side of Vasta. They just keep getting their players taken away from them instead of being able to pick up players from other teams that are, maybe that they're like the better team from. So it is a tricky position for Vasta to be in, and they've always been that team that likes to play these divey compositions a bit more. So we might see more of that when we go to Anubis, where dive can actually work quite well. It usually does work quite well.
Oh, yeah.
And that could be a map where they can pull it back on. Junkertown is not quite their map. They're not really the sniper team. They're not really the static walk forward brawly team. They want to be able to play that more mobile, work as a unit dive team rather than the spread out duelist DPS Roadhog type of composition. So we'll see if Anubis will actually work for them. So far, the Ultimates do seem to have the upper hand, but it was a lot closer on control, which we're not going to go back to now, but it does look like that's something that will be more up their wheelhouse in terms of that Anubis feels more like that map of Nepal than Junkertown does.
Yeah, 2CP definitely more of a map that will set it into a narrow corridor where Vasta can play more of their game. That's absolutely right. I must say, though, Rocket and Nipperhook do seem a bit off today. Like you said, we've praised them, we've cast them a lot, so we have praised his front line a lot. But it seems as if especially Nipperhook has a bit of a down day to me. Is that just on the fact that there is, well, not really one direction that he has to tank, but several at the same time? Or what is the difference from what we usually...
It's not one person, right? It's never just one player that's really underperforming, unless they're exactly even and there's just one player that keeps missing everything. A lot of it just has to do with the way that these teams are playing against each other, where Vasta is not able to spread out and fight this meta the way it's usually supposed to be fought, as well as the Ultimates are. We will see them swap sides here now, so Vasta's going to defend first on the Temple of Anubis map, and maybe that will help them get into a better rhythm, because some teams set that preference. They just like to start on defense first, like to have that side swap, and to just get a mental reset and everything.
Yeah, maybe know where you stand before you have to go on the attack yourselves. That can really help you just define a clear target for yourself, for your entire team, and like you said, get that mental back up where it needs to be, especially if the defense is going as they intended to go. We will see, however, whether or not the Ultimates will make it so easy for them as we load into Temple of Anubis.
Yeah. Temple of Anubis, of course, it's a 2CP map. It's an assault map, one of the three that we have left in the competitive circuit. Two still out of rotation, waiting for those to maybe come back in a different way. We'll see. But for now, Temple of Anubis, it's all going to be about that high ground around point A. The high ground, just the choke, yes, sure, it's still important, but it's not as important unless there's really a lot of spam damage. So unless one of these teams runs like a May or a Junkrat or anything like that, that first choke is relatively easy to get through. And then it's all about how do you deal with the area around the point, around that first ledge. And so far, teams have showed that they want to get past that choke really quickly, which they're able to do, and then just blow the other team up by attacking fairly quickly. You're just going straight into the objective, clear out that high ground a little bit, and then everything sort of falls apart. But it's all up to Vasta to show that they're not going to be able to be dislodged as easily, and a lot of their composition can just get back on that high ground for free anyways because of their abilities or their mobility tools. So with this Sombra Ash defense, they'll have more range to fight on. They'll have Rocket to be mobile, Nipperhook to sort of peel for everybody, get those bubbles in. And it will really be up to the Ultimates here to get on top of them, really.
Well, the Ultimates, of course, have one big advantage, and that is Rocket will try to be on top of them. Right, he's not the kind of tank that will stay in the backline but jump in on it, and that is the exact thing that Henningsen wants that big monkey to do. So we'll see as they go around the first corner. Fuki moving it in there. The rest of the ultimates casually following it up, trying for a bit of a jump spot. Same goes for Erky. They're trying to just make sure that the blade comes out as quickly as possible. Rocket, not entirely sure whether or not he should jump on that Genji or jump back to protect his team. Opts to do the latter at the end there, while Erky goes along the back line and is probably going to go for Kage, who is, of course, well protected by MVP as they jump onto point to get Erky away there.
Yeah, so the Sombra is having to try and look it out straight away, and Sir Majek gets caught out. No more Ana for the attacking team. Oh, and they tried to chase down Abs. They do get Abs!
Oh,
Abs
wow.
was getting chased around for like 30 seconds, and finally they get him.
There's the rest, though.
Rest is on the Anas for both teams.
That's right. Once again, these teams mirror each other's actions there. This time, it is Kage who finds Fuki. Beautifully done. Henningsen going down as well. Wymone actually making something happen as Majet goes down as well. The end of the day, it is Erky who stays alive versus Kage, but it does not matter because the attack has been thoroughly repelled by Vasta Gaming.
Oh, Rocket overstayed their welcome, though. They cannot be res there. That's a good initiative potential here for the side of the ultimates. Sir Maja doesn't really have to be scared of a Winston jumping on them right now.
That's right. Nipperhawk going very low. Actually takes the right click after the hook before that self bubble was able to manifest. And then it just gets blown down by the entire intensity of the ultimates. They are now on point. The first tick already going down. There it is. And the Genji jumping in, trying to at least get a bit of a dash kill going on. Brosnan has the ultimate. Elects not to use it. Doesn't really need it. Good right click onto Abs there. And the capture should be clear. 1 minute and 40. Extends into 4 minutes and 30, and we are moving on to point B.
Yeah, but now you look at the ultimates, you see that deliberately, because Rocket was down and the attack came so quickly, Maimon doesn't use EMP, Nipperhawk doesn't use Krav, and they just have so many ultimates left now. They can stop the snowball from happening. Yes, there's the Blade online, but no Nana boost. There's the Graviton, but no Nana boost. Fuki has a Bob, but, you know, there's plenty of tools to deal with all of that, but the EMP just stops everything from happening in the first place.
If you can actually get it off in time, and that is fully based on the positioning and the timing that comes out of it. Fuki finds Kage's Bob, so that's a good start. There it is, the EMP coming out, and so is the Graviton Surge, but Rocket and Kage have it under control. Abs in a bit of pressure here. Erky losing it at the end of the day. Maimon comes in from behind. You cannot deflect in the back, and Maimon knows that and just takes advantage of it.
Yeah, so far, good first hold there on the B side, and they got the ultimates for it. They saved them in the previous fight because they never thought they were gonna win that in the first place, and that's nice ultimate discipline. Don't be too cupidous with your ultimates.
That's right. Now Kage looking for a couple of pot shots. Actually takes the fight onto Fuki and has a little bit of a charge advantage. The ult advantage is on the side of Vasta Gaming anyway. They just need to make sure that they don't invest too much in this next attack as the Blade comes out. The Blade now moving it in. And there is the solo graph beautifully. Erky actually nano boosted. And Maimon and Nipperhawk just make short work of that set. So 2 ultimates invested. None really impactful. That is absolutely huge for Vasta Gaming right now. 2 minutes and 50 on the clock. And it does look like the ultimates have to pull back from that very swift but ultimately unsuccessful attack.
And look at that. No ultimates in the bank. They're going to have to fight slow and long to get even anything online. But there it is. It's the Reaper swap. It's the one we've been seeing work last week in... well, we've been seeing work last week even in Contenders to a degree, but also in Open Division. We've seen it work quite a few times. When teams swap out this Reaper, they're just saying, we don't want you to play Winston. Period.
Yeah, that is right. That it might help to some degree versus the Roadhogs. The Winston is the most affected one on that setup. Kage finds Fuki. There's the rest. The rest no longer in the toolbox, and that can be potentially huge for Vasta Gaming. Look at that. The Primal Rage already on for Rocket, and I am expecting him to fire it in as soon as he feels somewhat threatened. The Bob coming out there. Kage making sure that the rest of his team has some room to play with. In the back line, of course, is still Henningsen, who is now on that whole hog. Waymone in a fight versus that Reaper on the other side of the map right now. Erky just pressing it back in. Now Fuki has a target. That's a good EMP. That could potentially save VASTA here as Rocket goes for the Primal Rage, clears the point. Good sleep dart on the sideline, but it is Fuki with a nice shot once again that makes sure that there are more players of VASTA in spawn than there are on the point. They're clearing it out, and that's the cap. 1 minute and 16, but it took him a longer time than I expected him to.
It really did, but you know, at least Erky didn't really get that much value out of that Reaper. That's something that can be said, because you look at that, and yes, I mean, Erky does swap to the Reaper in the first place, which is, you know, it's a good swap. It's a swap. I said before, you know, it works against something like a Winston, but in the meantime, Maymon is just consistently hacking and keeping that Reaper away. So Reaper really didn't do that much that fight. Eventually got onto the point, and then they, you know, started doing some work. But a lot of that was all due to, well, the rest of the team of the ultimates. They, you know, Henningsen, Brusson was a good combo with those tank ultimates. Both the Whole Hog and the Graviton really did some work there. And then Foki with the Bob and just the general pressure of that Ashe, just doing a lot of work there. It's so far been a very interesting Temple of Anubis, because again, we're looking at two teams that have a very different idea of how this meta is supposed to be played out, what heroes are good, how you play them, where you play them, what compositions work. And now we're even going to see a change potentially on the defense of the ultimates. They're going to actually play the dive of their own with Erky on the Doomfist. And Erky Doomfist is a historical phenomenon. Kevin can tell you, this is going to be one to look out for. But Doomfist has always been that hero. If you, it's sort of boom or bust, right? You either just keep getting those kills straight away, or you just hard countered. And Kage on this Widowmaker should be watching out for that, but it's going to swap back over to something else. Maymon can just hack the Doomfist out, so he can't really do anything with his cooldowns, which he relies on so much. So still a little bit of careful approach here from Erky, but it's all about that one punch.
That's right. It's all about finding that moment that you need. Henningsen very far forward on that monkey. And now a jump coming in from Rocket up onto that point. Erky still up on the perch on that high ground. Hasn't jumped in on anything just yet. Actually tries to jump in onto Nipperhawk, who had that personal there. That did not work out the way that he imagined it, I am sure. Fuki and Brosnan find their targets though. So right now, looking rather good for the ultimates here.
And the ultimates so far getting a good approach, but they are approaching slowly and not really that aggressively enough to really get advantage out of these numbers advantages that VASTA do seem to be accruing with their spawn advantage too. Nice attack on the Foki there, but they do stay alive.
We'll see what's happening. Henningsen has to pull back for a little bit. Rocket gets Erky on the sideline. Kage immediately falls down to Fuki, who has been just playing the superior Ashe. I'm sorry to say it, but it is absolutely true. Now Nano onto Henningsen. He is chasing MVP. MVP and Abs are just dancing around that monkey, while Chalky Milk in the backline goes down for the ultimates. Nipperhawk was just able to walk up onto that Mercy and make sure that something is happening. Now Fuki sends the Bob in. They want Nipperhawk down. Kage with a nice shot from the sideline. Good dynamite onto Nipperhawk and Abs, both of them going down. The payload is actually being capped. Well, the control point, I must say, terribly sorry about that. Henningsen looking for more targets and finds Kage in the flank. Actually finds him and they go down. Now VASTA in trouble, needs to make sure that they can actually continue this cap, but it is being properly and beautifully stalled up by the ultimate. That's the EMP though. This could actually change this out. Primal Rage coming out. Henningsen unable to do anything until the sleep comes in. Henningsen sleeping on the floor, and that is Brusson with a nice double kill on the set of that. 1 minute and 30 on the clock. The ultimate holding on to dear life because that attack was ferocious, but in the end, make sure that the point is still theirs.
Yeah, so far we're talking about, VASTA, of course, had more time to practice on this patch, but also which teams did they practice against? Because they're not in contenders, they don't get to have that same level of competition constantly that a team like the Ultimates have gotten. So maybe the difference between these teams have just gotten bigger and bigger, and so far in the individual prowess and the way these teams play around each other, that's definitely something that's showing up. The individual skill and just the team coherence.
Both of the Ashe Mercy combinations are now in the fight. Looking for a target, actually looking to go for that Mercy, is not able to fully set up for that, but wants to maybe clear that high ground. Goes for Nipperhog in the end, sees that target and decides that it's good enough, unable to push the Mercy all the way up to the wall, but gets out there alive, and that's impressive in its own right.
30 seconds left and barely any ultimates in the bank. It's actually going to be a defensive ultimate advantage. And this is it. This is, you know, are you going to go down 3-0 in your first game? It does look like it so far, but there's one last hope.
There's one last hope, but they need to actually execute it. No ultimates coming in for VASTA. There's a self-destruct up on the high ground, and that means no movement from Rocket. Nipperhog also had to hide behind Fuki. Has another Bob up in the air. Rocket once again on the point, but is once again asleep. That is Majet, and those sleep darts are just definitely on point, and to the detriment of Rocket there. He's unable to deal with that from a unpredictability standpoint. Nipperhog on the point. 1, 2 versus 3. Look at this fight though. There it is. The Graviton Surge. Rocket with a double kill on that Primal Rage. Fuki equalizes with a double kill on their own set here. And Henningsen and Fuki are just fighting it out. But it is Rocket and Bob on the point. The first tick has been coming. The second tick is already down. Fuki needs to pull it back as Maimone is in their sights. They're actually able to make this happen. Erky unable to extend this for long enough as Kage takes them down. Chalky Milk and the Fong onto Rocket. MVP Joe takes Rocket out there. Brosson still trying to extend it. Over time already running. Now still extended. It is Sir Margin extending that point. Will someone from the Ultimates touch it? No attack. Objective B. They extend the timer for 3 minutes, but they have their work cut out for them.
They say if you snooze, you lose. But apparently if you snooze on the snoozing Winston, you also lose. That was Rocket eating 2 sleep darts into that, using a Primal Rage in between. And finally, when that Graviton of Nipperhog comes out, Rocket's Primal Rage just finds 3 targets straight away. It is... it just feels bad. You could have held that, but now you still have an ultimate advantage going into B. You're feeling confident you can hold them for 2.5 minutes. Let's see what you got ultimates, because now there's a bit of pressure on you.
There is. This is the first proper sign of life from VASTA, and I am liking it. Henningsen jumping into the backline. Remember, still has that Primal Rage going up. The Moira already fades out of that. Needs to pull away from the sideline. Now, the Primal Rage comes out. Is immediately hacked. Henningsen, though. Erky and Brosson are there, though, to take advantage of the attack that the Ultimates are now pressing out. They are just defending very, very far forward, if I dare say so. Maimone has to pull back, and the Ultimates in control of this engagement. 1 minute and 45 on the clock.
Yeah, no way they're going to be able to match that time bank. And of course, the Ultimates, they want to hold it. Don't get me wrong. They want to hold it before it hits 100. But if they hold it in overtime till it's 100, at least they'll be secure that this map won't go to a win from VASTA. VASTA, though, ready to attack, and they've got that EMP ready. That big power tool.
There's the Diva Bomb. Doesn't really find a lot of targets. The power tool, like you said, is ready. Erky has that Meteor Strike, so may actually be able to get more than just MVP on the sideline. I think that's his 3rd kill of the game, his 3rd own kill. Brosson, nice double kill. And Erky looking for more targets. 1 minute and 9 on the clock. And it is just pushback time for the Ultimate. I don't think they want to be surprised like they were on point A ever again.
No, it's been fascinating to me as well when you look at the ultimate usage. I think the Ultimates are putting out way more ultimates in general. And also, VASTA is way more conservative with their ultimates in terms of not every fight's winnable. That's the winnable meta is really what this one is. But Erky, Doomfist in the Nano.
Jumps into apps on that side. The Doomfist in the Nano is just making it hard. VASTA, the diamond in the rough, is not able to actually penetrate that. 30 seconds to go. And the Caves of Wishes seems very, very far for them right now as the Ultimates control the entrance.
Still have that EMP that has to come out this fight. 20 seconds to go. This is it. This is your last chance.
Rocket jumps in onto Erky. Now could be an opener. Maimone has that EMP, fires it straight in, but Fuki does a lot of damage on the sideline. Now, Primal Rage out of Rocket. Rocket half actually ends it on there. There's a Tobal Steen. Doesn't really find a lot of targets as Fuki and Henningsen take Kage and Nipperhog for a bit of a ride, and that is it. The 3-0. The Ultimates win the series. I'm not going to say it was easy, but it was a bit one-sided.
it did look fairly convincing for them. There were some nice plays that VASTA made. Don't get me wrong, they 100% have some things worked out. But sometimes you got to look at a matchup between two teams and say that one of the teams is just better. It doesn't have anything to do with their compositions. I think their compositions are definitely fine. But if you look at the caliber of a tank line of Bussen and Henningsen versus Nepal and Rocket, who are very good in their own right, but they haven't quite had that level of experience that a tank like Bussen has had in Overwatch League and even in the World Cup to a degree, that Henningsen has had in the past with that gauntlet and its Contenders win with HSL. And that's just the start of it. You go further to the support line where, yes, the supports are good on both teams, but if you think about which name have I said more in this game, like as a caster, I think, yeah, I've said Sir Majet's name more than I've said Abs's name, for instance.
Yes.
It's those type of things. And the same thing goes for the DPS. I think the DPS were actually the closest matchup in that entire game, where yes, Foki got a lot of value, Urki got a lot of value, but I do think that Maimon and Kage in their own right actually had quite a lot of value. So it's not that VASTA is worlds away from where the ultimates are, but there seems to be that gap in experience and so far level that these teams have that just hasn't been quite breached yet, and it actually has grown since the last time they were in the same level in trials. So VASTA, they have a road to go, but it was only their first game. There's still at least 4 more games to go for them. They have an entire trials week, and one game doesn't necessarily deny you the chance to go further.
Well, you heard it here first, ladies and gentlemen, not worlds away, but not quite there. So we will throw it to a little bit of a break. And when we return, we will have an interview with the Ultimates. And who do we have as a guest? Is that already known?
I think we might have had... Oh, it's going to be Chalky Milk. Oh, I love it. I love talking to support mains. It's going to be great. We'll see you on the other side, guys.
See you in a bit. And we are back after what has been a quick but nonetheless very entertaining series between the Ultimates and VASTA Gaming, where the Ultimates came out 3-0. You can see it up on your screen, obviously. And with us is Chalky Milk, the support player for the Ultimate. Hello, Chalky. How are you today?
Hello, I'm doing good.
That's fantastic. So in this game, you weren't really pressured a lot of the time. How do you attribute to that? Was that a frontline difference, or why were you able to play the game the way you were?
Well, yeah, it was mostly a frontline difference. Henningsen just did as much as he could, and he made all the space for us, for Fuki to pop off, and Urki as well.
Okay. Well, it's fairly substantial to say, like, yep, frontline difference. You've had some changes going on in the team lately, and of course the new meta to practice on. Was that really like a lot of adaptation you had to do in like a short amount of time, or was that not really the way you looked at it?
I mean, we haven't scrimmed with Bruce ever, and this was actually our first time playing with Bruce, so it was a bit of a change. But yeah, he adapted well.
That's great. And did you actually like playing with each other?
Yeah, I've played in a I played in a team with Bruce before, so I love playing with him.
That's fantastic. About the meta, how do you feel about it? Is it something that you feel is right for the Ultimates, or is it something that you are not entirely sure about? What are your feelings on it?
Yeah, I think we can do very well in this meta. Majid's really good on the Ana. I'm more comfortable on Mercy. I think everyone's hero pools align on this meta.
Yeah, that's definitely right. And my compliments to Majid and on that side. I said it during the last map as well. The sleep darts this man throws out are just chef's kiss.
Rocket did not have a good time. I think he doesn't really. He's not going to have a lot of sleep tonight. I think he's got enough in game. That's for sure.
That's definitely right. So, what are your plans looking forward to the rest of the series here?
Just practice as much as we can because we haven't had much, and just play our best in the rest of the games.
All right. If there is,
sorry, go ahead.
if there is one point, the Ultimates now with Brosnan, like you said, if there is one point you would like to improve on as a team, what would that be?
I guess communication. Since we haven't been a team for like this full roster for a while, I guess we still have some things to work out.
No, absolutely makes sense.
Total sense. Any shoutouts we can let you give before you leave?
Yeah, shout out to Mimio and to my team for always trying their best.
Okay.
Right. Good words.
Nice shout out to do.
You heard it here first, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you to Chalky Milk for that great interview. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much for watching day one. Stream one, I suppose, of the EMEA Contenders Trials. Now, there is some bad news, of course, we are done, but there's also some good news. Our colleagues over on Stream 2 still have a really, really good game for you. Man of Class, who's playing right now, and what's the score?
Okay, so that's the game between what's it called CBA and Hot Bath. Currently, Hot Bath is leading 2-1. They're going into the third map, but it could, of course, still go to a map 5. So they've had one series already. They're the lucky ones, but we'll see which team comes out of top there. Of course, you can just pop up back to the main channel, and then you can find the other stream going on there straight away. And they'll bring you the action right there. They're about to go into map 4, so definitely don't miss the action. Don't miss the action the entire week, because we'll be here all week. Same time, same channel, 8 CEST, and that's 2 p.m. EST, so Eastern, for all you Americans out there. And yeah, we will see you on the airwaves, see you on the YouTubes, and more trials to come.
Yes, and with that, we get to wave goodbye to you. I have been the Olomancer. This is still, of course, the Man of Class. Thank you for watching, and we will see you next week. Well, tomorrow, the rest of the week. Anyway, goodbye.